about writing this for a while now, since I'm really starting to feel uncomfortable and could really use some advice for who to contact and what to do. I 23F live in student housing as a graduate student. I have my own apartment in a small multi-family complex. There are about 4 other students there, one of which I will refer to as S, 45M. S has autism. I know these terms are outdated, but for context, his autism is rather profound, and he has lots of social difficulties and stims in conversation. I previously haven't had any real difficulties interacting with him, especially since I used to be an instructor for children with autism and am used to handling various social behaviors from people on the spectrum. But in the past couple of months, his behavior towards me has changed, and I'm at a loss for what to do. I take my dog out at various times throughout the night to relieve herself. There's only one way out of the complex, and I have to pass by S's apartment in order to do this. But after living here for about 6 months, I didn't have any trouble with this. Sometimes, he'd come out to say hi, and I'd let him pet my dog, but this was always at an appropriate time. About a month and a half ago, things started to get weird when I took my dog out at 4:30 a.m., which isn't unusual, and saw him peeking at me through the window. He then opened the door and came outside to sit down and pet my dog. She started barking and I politely told him that I can't have her barking at this time of night and took her inside. I'll admit I felt a bit uncomfortable with him coming out so late at night. After all, he is a large older man and I'm a very small female. For the next month, I would notice S lingering outside the apartments a lot more often. I found it disconcerting when he was doing this late at night. My partner, 20F, came to visit for a month, and while she was there, his behavior got even stranger. Nearly every time I took my dog outside, he would open his door and come out to talk to me, which made me uncomfortable because it seemed he was actively watching for me. But when I asked my partner to come out with me, he would open the door, see her with me, and then close the door without a word. It got to the point where I no longer wanted to take my dog out alone and eventually put up a security camera for peace of mind. The day my security package was actually delivered, my partner was up having a school Zoom meeting in my kitchen while I slept. Apparently, during the meeting, she started to hear him yell my name outside my door, followed by "package." And she ignored it, but it went on for several minutes. This made me really nervous to hear about, and after I put the camera up, the behavior slowed. But the other day, my partner went back to her home state again, and S's behavior changed again. He came up to me on the way back from doing laundry in our shared laundry room and asked me if I was a lesbian. I was kind of taken aback, but figured since he has autism, he doesn't really understand if a question is inappropriate. But 2 days later, it got worse. I was taking my garbage out, and there's a small alley between our apartments and the dumpsters. There's only one way in or out. It was nearly midnight and I checked the cameras first to ensure I was alone before going out, but when I turned around, he was standing in the alley, nearly blocking my way out. He looked on the verge of tears. I awkwardly said hi and stepped around him so I wouldn't be cornered in the alley, and he started confessing a variety of emotional and family problems to me. I could see he was having a hard time, so I was polite and answered him and advised him to see a therapist if he needed someone to talk to. He then said something odd to me about not having a partner and how he wanted one really badly, not to put me on the spot, and mentioned he knew about my current partner. Of course, now I think I see why he's been acting so strange towards me. Here's the thing though. He's still following me outside when I take my dog out, and sometimes will just stand there quietly and watch if I'm not engaging with the conversations he's trying to start. I have started carrying pepper spray and will admit I'm feeling very concerned for my safety. My mom says it's a harmless crush and I should just politely tell him to stop cornering me, but I don't know how to safely have this conversation, just in case I may actually be in danger, and I don't feel comfortable doing so. Any advice on what I should tell him to make him understand his behavior is making me feel unsafe? Should I even tell him? Even though he has autism, I feel like he should know not to corner me in an alley at midnight. My school does not have many people working during the summer, and I'm not sure who I should report this to, if I do. Several people close to me who have met him, including someone who is also on the autism spectrum, are telling me to not confront him and just report this behavior. But again, my parents just say his autism is making it difficult to understand that his sudden change in behavior is off-putting, and he's getting over a harmless crush. Either way, I feel unsafe at times, and I want to hear some advice from you guys as to what I should do. Advice from anyone on the spectrum would be especially appreciated, since I want to know if maybe I'm just misinterpreting his challenged social skills as something more concerning. Thank you so much. Update. Thank you all for the replies. You guys are so helpful and have helped me realize the danger I'm in. I want to believe this is the best case scenario, where he just doesn't realize his behavior is inappropriate. Logically, this is the most likely case, but I have to base my actions around a worst-case scenario. My gut says something is very wrong. You guys are right that I need to listen to that. My safety has to take priority over his feelings, and I will be doing everything I can to avoid interactions with him. This weekend, he hasn't come up to me directly. He has, however, been coming outside at night after 2:30 a.m., searching the yard where I usually take my dog, and then going straight back inside, 2 nights in a row now, as caught multiple times by my camera. Don't know why else he would do this other than to look for me, and this makes me especially unnerved that he's only attempting that approach at night now, as if he's trying to catch me off guard. I called my parents and broke down crying after reading all the comments you guys left in this thread, and they're finally taking me seriously. My mom purchased me a stun gun, which I will not be going outside without. I'm also not leaving the house alone anymore at all, not even to take the trash out. My dog will be accompanying me for everything. I didn't mention it in my previous post, but my dog is a pit bull, and even though she's the sweetest and has never once been aggressive, she is fiercely loyal, and I believe she could do some serious damage if someone attacked me. I also put in contact alarms for my windows and got a better deadbolt for my door, and my partner has also offered to come stay with me to help keep me safe. He has never approached me when I'm not alone. So for everyone who's been concerned for my safety, thank you, and I hope that shows I'm taking serious steps to keep safe. This morning, I submitted a report to the school and explained the situation in depth, including sending them footage from my security camera of him following me and my dog outside late at night. I requested they keep my report anonymous. I asked them to do a mental welfare check on him and connect him with counseling resources. And as some of you have suggested, I'm asking them to call and remind him not to approach people late at night while they're on their own. Those were my only specific requests, but I told them I need intervention, and I need it now. I got a call back within a few hours and learned my case was fortunately assigned to a man who's worked with autistic adults for years prior to transferring to work at the university. So he's very understanding of the situation and why it's so complex, and will be working on connecting us with resources for his mental health and to point out which behaviors are appropriate, inappropriate. I'm hoping this is the best case scenario, and that this intervention will be positive. If it's not, however, then I will be asking the housing department to temporarily move me. I feel much better with the help and communication I'm getting from the school, but I will continue to treat this like I'm in very real danger, because I might be. This post blew up, so I will update it if something more substantial happens. But for now, the situation is reported and you can assume no news is good news. I love my husband, but I'm no longer physically attracted to him. Not because of his looks, but because he isn't manly enough. I know this is a horrible thing to say, but I have to say it. It's a throwaway account. My husband and I are in our mid-40s, married for over 20 years, and have 3 beautiful children, all in their double digits. I do love my husband, but I don't know if I'm physically attracted to him, not because of his looks but because of how he lives his life. My husband is a good man, treats me very well, and is an amazing father to our children. Physically, he is tall, with broad shoulders, not skinny or athletic, but not obese either. He is a big guy with a big beard, big arms, and big hands. He is built like a linebacker. He can physically intimidate people with just his presence, although he never intentionally does that. He can control a room and has a very masculine job at which he excels. However, the manliness ends there. This is why I may not be attracted to him anymore, if I ever was. He is not handy. It's not that he doesn't try to fix or do things around the house, but he cannot build anything. Anything he does fix never looks or works right. Often we have to hire people to fix or build things for us. He doesn't drink. He will go out once in a while and have a couple of beers, but he doesn't drink at home. My husband isn't into any manly stuff. He doesn't hunt, fish, or do anything with automobiles, and is not big into sports. He has taken the kids fishing and shooting, just so they have the experience, but he does it just for them. He really doesn't have any hobbies. I begged him to take one up, so he started building Lego sets. He's in his 40s. He loves going to movies, likes cooking. I never have to cook when he is home, and he does a lot of the house cleaning. I will give him this. He doesn't play video games or board games, unless it's family time, or do anime or any of that. He's not controlling in bed. Sex is okay, but I want him to take charge. I won't say anything about this to him. I wouldn't know where to start. I do love him. It's not that I want him to be a drunk or macho aggressive jerk, but sometimes I just want a man to take charge and fix things and be a man. This is bad, I know. I feel bad saying it, just needed to say it. Update 1. Hello. I wanted to add a little update to my original post. I don't know how to link it to this one, so you'll have to go into my history. I received a lot of hate for my thoughts and feelings. I realized when I wrote them and read comments about them that they come off as mean and cruel. I have no right to feel this way. The problem is that I do feel this way. I don't know how to change it. I thought about it for a few days and finally needed to take action because it was weighing on me so bad. I received some messages from people telling me to have a conversation with my husband. I decided to. I thought for quite a while about what I would say, how I would say it, and tried to think of questions or statements he would have that I thought about responses to. Last night we had a talk. Kids were at work and at friends' houses. We were sitting outside enjoying the fresh evening air. I brought it up. In short, nothing went as expected and I am as confused about my marriage as I ever was. I began by telling him that I love him. I love that he is a great father in person. However, there were some feelings I could not shake and there were some changes from him that I needed. I talked about his hobbies, changing it up a bit, working in our bedroom, what I wanted out of it. I explained in the most sensitive way that I could about how I feel about his personality and overall measure as a man. I did not use those exact words. I was more gentle. However, in order to move forward with our marriage, I felt I needed to be honest. I did tell him that I wanted honesty from him as well and wanted him to tell me what I could do to be a better wife. I know I cannot ask him to change without having some changes myself. I never expected his reaction. He literally just stared at me. Said nothing. His reaction was emotionless. No anger, sadness, acceptance, nothing. Just stared. I said everything I wanted to say. I was looking for a response. I got none. After sitting in silence for a while, waiting for some reaction or words, I just yelled at him to say something. At least tell me what I need to work on. The only thing he said to me last night was, "I knew who you were when I married you. I am not going to ask you to change anything." That's it. We sat in silence for at least an hour after that. Our oldest then came home from work, and he went to talk to him for a while. Not about our conversation, but how work went and stuff. My husband did not sleep in bed last night. He slept on the basement couch. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to feel. I do feel better about telling him how I felt, but not as great as I thought. I really do not know how to feel. Maybe that's a sign my marriage is over. I can't feel anything about it. I should be happy I said it. Sad he won't talk to me. Angry for no response, but I have nothing. I guess I'll give it some time for both of us to process. Update 2. I apologize again. I still do not know how to post my previous updates or the original post. Please look at my history. My last update I laid out what happened while talking to my husband. He spent that night and last night on the couch downstairs sleeping. We haven't talked about our conversation. He has talked to me, but not about that, and the talks we have are short. We have had our kids around all weekend, so I never have gotten the opportunity to sit down with him, and with him sleeping downstairs, I figured to just give him some space. I don't know how to proceed. I have talked with a coworker about this, just to get advice since I needed someone in my life to talk to. He advised me to give it a bit of time to let my husband talk to me, but if there's no change offered by him, then it may be time to tell him that we need to separate. I don't want to do that, but it may come to that. I want him to see where I'm coming from, and I want him to tell me what I can do to change. That is where we are at. No real big update, but I will give him until the end of the week. If he doesn't initiate anything, I will. Edit. Okay, I had to edit this post because there have been some comments about my coworker. I had these feelings about my husband before I talked with my coworker. We are not having an affair. We are not doing anything inappropriate. He is giving me some guidance because he is a man and I figured he could help. Nothing more than that. Also, please stop calling me names because I have these feelings and am trying to navigate them with my husband. I cannot help my feelings any more than you can help yours. Think about that. Think about an off feeling you had and wish you didn't have. It's happened to everyone, including you. So please stop. Update 3. This is not so much an update but a repeat of the edit on my previous update. I am not having an affair with my coworker. I went to him after I was having these feelings about my husband. For advice only. There is no emotional or physical affair going on. I go to him for advice, he gives it and I either take it or I don't. He is not pushing me to do anything, it's just his advice. I literally have no other friends or family in this area, or I would have gone to them. Also, these are my feelings about my husband. I have tried very hard not to feel this way, but I can't stop. I don't know how many of the angels and pure people on this app are able to control their feelings so well, but you obviously are better than I am. None of you have ever had feelings you couldn't shake or feel bad about. If you say you have, you are a liar. I posted my feelings because I am genuinely confused, scared, and don't know what to do. I feel that you guys just bash but provide no answers. There have been some of you that have been beautiful and helpful, sending me DMs, and I thank you for that. The rest of you in the comments, think before you post. If you don't want to provide sound advice, please just move on. Final update. Okay, I'm done. Not so much an update, but I have been getting so much hate for simply looking for advice. Comments, DMs, all have been just blasting me. I am not going to post on this anymore. What happens between my husband and I will remain between us. This was the stupidest decision, posting on here and then continuing to post on here. I am not cheating on my husband. It's a coworker. We have talked a few times about it. We only texted a couple of times. We don't talk about feelings for one another. Just someone I asked for a little guidance from, and he was nice enough to give it. Yes, my husband is a good man. No, I am not a piece of crap for having the feelings I do. I stand by talking to him about my feelings, because that is what people do in a marriage. If my marriage is over because he cannot accept what I have to say or change the small things I want him to change, then so be it. But I am done posting. Thank you to the people of Reddit for absolutely nothing. My best friend claims I owe her everything I have, including my boyfriend. She thinks I wouldn't be successful without her. Is she right? I know I should be careful calling someone best friend in a post like this, but I don't know how else to call Jessie. Our parents are great friends, so we grew up together and she kind of had my back in high school. Long story short, on the teenager food chain, she was on top and I should be on the bottom. But nobody messed with me because I was Jessie's friend. Jessie is one of those people who require attention. I never minded though, nobody is perfect, right? But now that I have my first real boyfriend, she doesn't know how to behave. Every time we are together she is really handsy. Always touching his arms, running fingers through his hair, complimenting him. And now she even started with the prank spankings on the butt, you know. I just feel really uncomfortable with it. Maybe it's normal. I mean, Jessie has a lot of guys friends, so maybe this is okay. My best friend never thought much of it either. Am I just overreacting? She is super pretty, so maybe I'm just jealous. Anyway, yesterday something really threw me off. Best friend had to do some work and I had a book thing, hobby. So we decided to meet later at a friend's house. They were getting together to drink and so on. Best friend finishes work early and calls me, but I don't really need him to come over to the book thing. I know he doesn't like it, so I just tell him to go to friend's house. Then I start getting texts from Jessie all like, "Girl, you gotta come to this party now. Your best friend is wasted. LOL, LOL. We so drunk you need to come and stop us. I can't behave myself if you don't get here soon." And so on. The book thing took longer than I thought and I was just getting mad and madder. But I am a very non-confrontational person, so I deal with it. I call best friend when it's over, cause I don't feel like going to this party anymore, but I was his ride, so I ask him if needs me to come pick him up. He says, sure. I get there and don't even go inside. I am ready to release the hounds of hell on him. But he gets in my car and he is stone cold sober. I ask him if he was drinking and then show him Jessie's texts. He gets super upset and says she was lying. He wasn't even hanging directly with her, but catching up with a friend who just came back to town. He says I should have texted him letting him know what she was saying so he could confront her about it, since you don't ever seem to be able to give that girl some boundaries, his words. Now I am thinking maybe I should talk to Jessie. But maybe she was just drunk and annoying me because she wanted me there. I don't know. I mean, this girl was really nice to me growing up when she could have been a bitch. I don't like how she behaves around him, but at the same time I don't want it to look like I don't trust her. Is there a polite way of going about it? Or I should maybe wait and see if this happens again. Am I overreacting? Too long. Didn't read old friends are handsy with my boyfriend. And it upsets me, but I don't know if I should tell her or how. Update. Thanks to everyone for your comments and help. I decided to talk to Jessie and posted a development to the story update one yesterday. I posted here about how my best friend Jessie is a bit handsy with my boyfriend and it makes me feel uncomfortable. Too long. Didn't read as she touches him a lot and sent me inappropriate messages when she was at a party with him. I am very thankful to all those who commented, especially the ones who encouraged me to say something and what. I don't like arguments, so those were very important to me. Thank you. Last night we were alone because she wanted me to help her choose clothes for an event. I was at her place, so I thought I should say something. I wanted to say something. I was very polite and just said that I knew she meant no harm, but I didn't feel good about it. So I asked her if she could tone it down. I should have said stop, but I guess I'm weak. She didn't really say anything mean, but her attitude was a bit off, I think. She was looking at me in a scornful kind of way, and the way she smiled once I was done talking. It just felt weird. She didn't say anything else but, okay, and we just moved on to choosing her clothes and I left after. We were supposed to go get something to eat, but she said she was tired. I am not dumb, she was hurt. So I texted a common friend, more her friend than mine, and without getting into details, I just told him that I talked to Jess about something that was important to me, but that I was afraid she may have gotten the wrong idea from it. The common friend said, look, I don't want to get involved, but you should watch it. I asked what he meant. He said nothing, just watch it. A little while after that he texts me back and says, changed my mind, I do want to get involved, and sends me a bunch of prints of texts going back and forth between him and Jessie. It basically starts with him asking her if the two of us had a fight, 'cause I was worried. He was kind with his words, I don't mind him stepping in. And then just a non-stop stream of her being horrible. She says I had a big mouth and was judging her behavior 'cause I'm a prude who doesn't know how to be around guys. How she taught me everything I know about having a life, and how dare I tell her what she can or cannot do, or how I should thank her for even having a boyfriend at all. Common friend actually called her out for being rude and no friend of mine. After the prince he told me, I'm done with her, I give up and you should watch it. He also said it was okay if I told her I had the prince. I didn't though, didn't know what to say. I mean, she is not 100% wrong, but even though I know that, it really hurts to read those. This morning I woke up and saw she texted me late at night. She says she knows Pete sent me the prints and she didn't mean to be rude, but it's ridiculous that I'm jealous of her because if she wanted my best friend she could just have him. You want me to prove it? So I'm being silly and should drop it, is what she meant. She ends it with kisses and a joke. So I don't know if she was being playful, apologizing, threatening, or being pragmatic. I didn't answer her yet. I don't know what to say. Should I even say something? Or should I just let it go? I wish I could talk to someone about this, but I am very private. I usually go to Jessie with these things. Help? Too long. Didn't read. Asked an old friend to stop being so handsy with my boyfriend. She took it the wrong way and told a common friend I got no business telling her what to do since I owe her so much. Notable comments. Comment. Sounds like this person is completely wrapped up in their own head and has a serious case of overthinking their importance in life, especially other people's lives. Obviously, we're all going to tell you to drop her because she's not a desirable person to be around if that's how she acts/talks to you in person and behind your back. This person thinks they own you enough so that they're decided to let you have your best friend. Fuck that shit. Also show your guy everything that's happened, 'cause guaranteed she's going to go after him. OP, I suppose you're alright. It just gets me, you know? It's a 20-year-long friendship. I keep thinking maybe this is a misunderstanding. She didn't mean it, or she's going through a hard time and doesn't know how to deal with it. I am just trying to make sure I'm not overreacting, so I needed some outside perspective. As for my best friend, I think he would turn her down quite fast. He doesn't really like her. He just hangs with her because of me. He's always saying that he'd rather not and all. So it's unlikely that they'd be alone together. But I will talk to him. Thank you for the heads up. Turns out she already went after him. I was stupid. Update 2, my boyfriend is having sex with her. A friend convinced some other friends to send me prints of texts between themselves and either my best friend or best friend. They are pretty clear. I confronted my best friend. He looked lost, said he loves me and it was just sex. He says Jessie kept throwing herself at him, teasing him, and he said he didn't like her but I still wanted to hang out. He said he just had sex with her to see if she would move on and leave him alone, and that it only happened a couple of times. Says he won't do it anymore. He doesn't even like her. He loves me, asking me to please forgive him. From the text, once I finally made it through them all, I think that Jessie went to the party, where me and my best friend met, because she wanted to hook up with him. She had it bad for him, but he didn't feel the same way. She was trying to get him to break up with me and then to get me to break up with him. It worked. As of yesterday, he is a single man. In some of those texts they are talking about some of the hookups. I feel like throwing up. I blocked him, 'cause he was still trying to get in touch. I ghosted her. But she just sent me a message saying she just heard what happened and, this was probably for the best, right? And I feel like fucking screaming. I don't know if this is an update or just me venting. Thanks for listening either way. Edit, I don't want to sound melodramatic or sappy or anything, but you all brought me to tears. We keep hearing about how it is insanity to rely on the internet for personal connections, but I just lost a boyfriend, a best friend, and a whole group of friends. And instead of feeling alone, I am more and more feeling like, fuck yeah, that was the right thing to do, I will be okay. It still hurts, but not as much as it would had I really been alone. I can't even begin to thank this sub. I really don't know what to say. Even on my previous post that didn't get as many responses, it was some of the comments there that made me approach the cheating thing knowing I had to break up and move on. So it changed my life at that moment. And considering I will be doing a lot of soul searching on toxic relationships, this probably changed my life for good. So thank you all so much for reaching out to a stranger. This community is so precious. And I got a gold, I don't even know what to say. Thank you so much. I don't mean to sound ungrateful, but I don't even know how much gold costs, and this is an alt account, so it won't really be used. Is there any way I can return it to the sender? Some of you are asking for an update. I might in a while, if there is something new to tell. Right now it's just more of the same. I don't think I will be able to answer all the comments, but I am trying to at least answer the ones with questions. Thank you. Notable comments. Commenter 1. Well, yeah, I would just ditch that whole friend group and start trying to find new friends. My god, that's some fucked up shit. OP. Yep, done and done. I think I'm being too permissive with the word friend. It was going on for months. Everyone knew. Nobody had the decency to tell me. It was only the one friend who wasn't even that close who stood up for me. Commenter 2. You also can't make her hurt. She has no respect for you and clearly doesn't care. So it will be impossible anyways. It would have the same effect as a drunk stranger telling you that you're awful. It might make you angry, but you didn't care about that stranger, so what they say is irrelevant. Also, I can't imagine anything so utterly not worth your time. The delightful side effect of just ghosting is that they will stew in it. They want the reaction, but they get none. They realize they lost all their power and never get to know and feel that satisfaction that comes from getting the reaction you wanted. OP, oh, I get what you mean. She is still texting me. I didn't mention one detail because it wasn't important. We were all traveling together soon. My family paid for some of Jessie's expenses. She is messaging me about the vouchers, since I have them all. This fucking woman can't even wait a day to ask. It's like she suddenly remembered she still needs me. I mean, I am not giving them to her either way. Trip is off, can't she tell? She has no respect for you and clearly doesn't care. Absolute truth. Commenter 3. She would be more hurt by no response at all. To anything, ever. OP, go no contact. OP, I'm very much thinking the silence treatment will be the way to go. I think she just realized she needs me for the trip. She has been aggressively trying to contact me. Now she is saying that she liked my best friend first, and I was the one who stole him, so she is the one who should be mad. I know I should just block her everywhere. But is it petty that I am having fun watching her squirm? I wanted to have the last word, but not saying anything is driving her crazy. Commenter 4. He said he just had sex with her to see if she would move on and leave him alone, and that it only happened a couple of times. Says he won't do it anymore. He doesn't even like her. He loves me, asking me to please forgive him. LOL, what? Seriously, that is one of the stupidest things I have heard. It is like saying, hey babe, I jumped off a cliff because somebody was really pestering me to do it. Edit, I feel for you OP, but what an excuse. OP, I confess I almost fell for it. How pathetic is that? He was saying he cared about me, it was just a mistake. He thought she would back off. And I felt it was a bad decision on his part, but maybe it made sense and I could forgive him. Then he said something like, and I didn't even like her, you were the one who always wanted us to hang. That's when my brain joined the party and I was like, is he seriously trying to blame this shit on me? More comments made by OP. Most disgusting part is that it is a trip we would take together with my best friend and some other friends. So she really thinks I would let my family pay for her to go on vacation with my ex who she cheated on me with. I'm starting to think this woman is sick. Like for real. I just went straight to venting, didn't I? Sorry. Well, it was all Pete, really. After she texted she could get my best friend if she wanted to, I just answered back, BTF Jessie. And she loled as if it was a joke. After that, Pete texted me, asked me if I was alone. He was really kind, and told me everything. Said he had proof and asked if I wanted to see it. I said yes. He had gone after our friends and convinced them to send him prints. He's really well liked by everyone. And he was the one who said enough Pete is gay BTW, just in case anyone jumps the gun like my mom did and think he did this because he's interested in me or something. He's not. He's just a decent person. No, I didn't get prints between best friend and Jessie. I guess I went straight to venting and didn't give much details. Wasn't expecting this response. There was this friend Pete who convinced 3 other friends to send him texts between them, 3 friends, and either Jessie or best friend, so he could have proof, 'cause he thought what was happening was disrespectful and someone should tell me. There were prints of texts between 2 friends and Jessie, and 1 other friend and best friend. They were pretty clear. Jessie especially didn't seem to care about hiding it at all. Best friend texts were mostly wondering if I had noticed something, and wanting Jessie to back off, while saying she was hot, etc. There was nothing 100% confirmation on his side. It wasn't a talk between him and one of his closest friends, so it was kind of generic. But when I confronted him, I said I had prints, without saying what they showed, and he just confessed. I really appreciate the prints. It was ultimate evidence. But I don't think they did it for me. It's a Pete thing, you'd have to know him to understand. He's the stand-up guy who is everyone's friend. He is a huge person. I think they sent the prints because it was something for him, you know? He was the one leading the charge and dealing with consequences. If it were just me, I don't think they would have done it. Update 3: I said I'd come back if anything relevant happened. EX best friend kept trying to get in touch through common friends. They kept asking me to unblock him and at least hear him out, 'cause he was really sorry. He loved me. He was a mess. He didn't mean to. Someone even went as far as to ask me if I was really sure it happened. They offered to send me prints of texts where he was talking about me, so I'd see how he always had great things to say and how much he cared. But I've had it with the print screen drama for life and said no. To the ones who insisted, I told them I wasn't unblocking him. Had nothing to say or hear, and if they kept pushing me, I'd block them too. I ran into my EX best friend at this book thing I go to often, hobby of mine. Maybe I'm being presumptuous, but I think he went there for me. He didn't really have any business there, but I'm just speculating really. He asked if I had a few minutes for coffee. I said I was late. He walked me to my car. He looked so good, smelled great. He was so sweet. Was even wearing his hair the way I like it. I feel horrible because even after everything, I still like him. He apologized some more. Said he knew I needed time and space, but asked if I'd consider giving him another chance 'cause he would wait for me. Said he would never talk to Jessie again, and would act like they had restraining orders against each other. And I just found it really funny how everything he was saying required me trusting him, which I don't. So I told him I wasn't interested anymore and he should move on. I wish I said something snappier or wittier, but I had nothing. This was Saturday. I haven't heard from him or friends since. I think that was that. Jessie also kept trying to talk to me. Like I told some of you in the comments, I had a trip coming up. It would have been me, Jessie, EX best friend, and a few friends. Since Jessie couldn't afford it, my parents paid for most of her expenses. She must have remembered this right after everything went down and panicked because I had everything: vouchers, confirmation emails, credit card info. She went crazy. Even showed up at my place. I wasn't home and my roommate told her to fuck off. Exact words. I didn't block her at first 'cause I admit I was having some fun watching her despair. I talked to my mom and she was amazing. Told me I should cancel everything even if it cost us money. It was fine. So I did. And for one last bit of print screen drama, I printed all the emails I got confirming cancellations and sent those to Jessie with the word bye before blocking her. My roommate has been amazing. We were never really close and now I don't even know why. She canceled plans with her friends to stay with me and invited me to go out with them next weekend. A few of you suggested I see a therapist and I did, yesterday. I really liked it. It was just one appointment and I mostly just talked, but it felt good. She gave me homework. She talked a little about unhealthy and abusive relationships and asked me to think about my friendship with Jesse and try to point out what was healthy and what was unhealthy about it. Made me realize she was never really my friend. She was taking advantage of me for years, and she even had me thanking her for it. Therapist also told me about this saying, I think that's what it is, called the narcissist's prayer, which goes something like, that didn't happen. If it did, it wasn't my fault. If it was, I didn't mean it. And if I did, then you deserved it, which is totally how Jesse is handling this whole thing now. So good riddance indeed. And a final piece of gossip. Pete talked to me yesterday. He checks up sometimes. He's a good guy. Again, he is gay, in case someone is still thinking this might turn into a romantic comedy. He said Jesse was super sure that since I broke things off, she and Dean would hook up right away. But apparently he doesn't have the same plans, and that freaked her out over the weekend. Pete says he really is a mess and went out drinking hard 4 nights in a row to the point he had to be carried home by his pals. And yesterday, they all went out for lunch at this burger place. Jessie was going to run her fingers through his hair or something, and he just pushed her away and told her to stop and to never touch him again. Great that now he manages to do that, huh? I guess in the end he really did like me in his sick way. The thing is, I don't want to be with someone who likes me in a sick way. I want to be with someone who likes me in a healthy way. I think I deserve that. I am also thinking about taking the money I got back from the trip to go somewhere else by myself. Haven't decided yet. Anyway, this will be the final update on this, since it is unlikely that I will have anything new to add. Now I think I just need time to heal and let go, you know? I might come back in a few months if there is reason to do a Yay Life is Awesome Now post, but I wanted to post this update now because I wanted to end this whole story on a bright note. And of course, thank you all again. You are the best. Too long. Didn't read, it's all good. As well as could be anyway. Thanks Reddit. My husband abandoned us to see the Grateful Dead's final show, leaving me and the kids broke. I've decided to plan our divorce. Am I the asshole? My husband is a deadhead. His entire identity is built around this band, and he's seen them and their various incarnations over 50 times. Normally I don't mind, but 2 years ago I was in an accident that left me unable to work. I now receive a tiny disability check once a month for it. He works, but it hasn't been easy with the cost of everything skyrocketing. My disability check doesn't even cover the full cost of our rent, even though our rent is the lowest in our area. Long story short, Dead & Company is made up of what remains of the Grateful Dead, and this is supposed to be their last tour. We live on the East Coast, where he's already seen them twice, which was already more than we can afford. But a few days ago he took out a loan and bought tickets to go see their final show in San Francisco, along with round-trip air and hotel and whatever else he needs out there. Me and the kids are left with $10, some pocket change, and what feels like a very big fuck you. School starts back in a month and the kids both need school supplies and clothes. I could name 1,000 things we need, things that we're going without while money is tight, but this is what he chose to do. We're not going to starve over the weekend, but I don't even have enough money to go get them a pizza while their dad is having a blast on the other side of the country and hanging out with his online Deadhead fan. I understand that this band means a lot to him, and I tried to be supportive of that, but I feel like he's crossed a line here. He refused to talk about how much all of this is costing us, but when I looked up the cost of concert tickets, flight tickets, hotels, transportation and food, the bare minimum figure I get is still around $1,000. It could very well be, and probably is, a lot more than that. I've supported him through a lot of things, but this weekend, while he's off having fun and leaving us to fend for ourselves, I'm slowly planning my divorce. I'm playing nice while I get all of my ducks in a row, but this is it for me. I'm tired of watering down essentials like shampoo or laundry soap, living off rice and beans just for him to turn around and take out a loan so he can go to a show all by himself across the country. Edit to say I commented somewhere below to let everyone know the current plan. Apologies if you have to scroll to find it. OP adds an update to a deleted comment. You guys, I wish I had the time to thank you all individually for the overwhelming support I've received here. I really was not expecting that when I posted. Even though I'm dealing with something so fucked up, I feel so much better than I did a few hours ago, knowing there are so many decent and kind people out there, so thank you for that. I mean it. As for everything else, divorce is inevitable. He might not be a total monster, and I'm sure on any other day I would have been able to tell you 1,000 different things that are good about him, but this is a huge betrayal, and I just don't see how we're going to come back from that. We're only barely making ends meet now, and this one single selfish act of his leaves us thousands of dollars in the hole overnight. I'm occasionally capable of small miracles, but pulling money I don't have out of my ass isn't one of them. It's the weekend now, so I won't be able to even think about speaking to a lawyer until Monday at the earliest. I wish I could say I'm packing up now, but the reality is I'm stuck here, at least for a little while. The $10 I have in my account doesn't go very far these days. I'll have money again on the 1st, so tomorrow I'll be packing just the essentials, birth certificates and the like, and taking them to my friend's house for safekeeping for now. I'll also be calling my landlord to see about having my name removed from the lease agreement. I'm not going to tell my husband I'm leaving yet though. He's going to come home and tell me what a beautiful experience it was. Tell me how much he wishes I could have been there and how he'll take me one of these days and make it up to me eventually. And I'll smile and play along for the next 2 weeks. I'm not sure where I'm going yet, but I do know I'm not going to pay 3/4 of the rent just to be immediately broke again and have the lights and water and phone all turned off a few days later because he put us in this financial pit. I hope his social media fam are impressed enough by his presence and Instagram stories to make all this worth it to him. I hate it. I can't even begin to explain how hurt and shocked and tired and angry I am. I'm also numb. I don't know how it's possible to feel all this at the same time, but hey, here I am. Thank you though from the bottom of my heart. And for the handful of pecans wringing their hand about me being a leech and sucking the joy out of his life. Keep in mind that I worked from the time I was 16 up until I got hurt, and there were plenty of times throughout this relationship where I was the breadwinner. I provided for him during those times because that's what people in relationships do for one another. I'm very sorry you've never cared enough about someone else or had anyone care about you to understand that. I draw disability now because I paid into a system that was put into place to do for people exactly what it's doing for me right now. Edit. I appreciate the offers, I really do, but if you need to donate to anything, please donate to your local animal shelter or food closet or a needy family in your neighborhood. This blew up way bigger than I thought my rant was worth to anyone, but the kids and I are gonna be okay. We're leaving tonight to stay with a couple of friends. Everything is moving very quickly now, it's sort of surreal. OP updates the original post update. I wasn't expecting I'd need an update already, but he knows. Someone here decided to share my vent elsewhere, so he saw it on Facebook. He's angry that I've made him look like an asshole. I told him all I did was talk about it without naming him. And if people decide he's an asshole based on his actions, he's got no one to blame but himself. I'm so nervous, I'm shaking and I feel like I might vomit. Some friends have offered to come help me pack and let me and the boys stay with them until I can figure out something more permanent. Edit. Also, please don't try to send me, or anyone pretending to be me, pretending to collect on my behalf, anything. We're in good hands right now and we're not going to go without. I figured, since this whole thing blew up today, I might as well tell all of my friends what's going on and they've really pulled up for us, so we're definitely going to be okay. Relevant comments. Comment 1, divorce him. He has made it clear he doesn't care about you or your kids. Anyone that's selfish needs to be held accountable and the only way to do that is by leaving him. OP, I'm finally realizing this. He's always been a bit selfish, but usually it's smaller things like buying one of his fam birthday rounds with our last $5. We were already struggling because his last 2 East Coast shows really set us back hard. He missed work for both those shows, but we could have skimmed because he used his PTO for those shows. But not only did he take out a loan for San Fran, he has no PTO left and he's missing 3 days of work, which means his next paycheck is going to be super slim and we'll have a new loan payment to make. I'm expecting this to set us back at least 2 or 3 months, but probably more. The kids go back to school in a month. The youngest had a massive growth spurt and literally none of his clothes fit. He's got a single pair of jeans, 2 pairs of shorts, and I think 5 t-shirts that he can still wear. I have no idea how I'm going to do this, but I'm tired of making all these sacrifices just so he can go do whatever he feels like. Comment 2. That is shockingly bad. He doesn't care if you and his own children are low on food and necessities. If he's gotten this low, who knows what he will do in the future, and you said he's always been selfish. This goes beyond selfishness and I agree with all the other comments about divorce. There's no going back from this. At least that's my opinion. I wouldn't be able to ever see him the same again and I'd be absolutely heartbroken. I'm sorry he did this. Don't let anyone downplay his actions. OP, I keep going back and forth between heartache and rage. We've been together for almost 20 years and I cannot believe he would stoop so low to just leave us like that. Life feels so unreal right now. I have a doc appointment this week that I'm gonna have to call and cancel first thing Monday morning because I don't have the money for it anymore. This is so fucked. It's 8 in the morning and I didn't sleep at all last night worrying about this stuff. I can't wrap my head around it. Update, I was injured in a work-related accident that has severely affected my mobility, and this process has been ridiculously slow, in part because my lawyer told me we needed to know how well I might expect to recover and a slew of other things, and those things require time and doctors. I've been basically guaranteed a fairly large settlement. The problem is I'm planning on filing for divorce tomorrow. I had a fairly solid career before my accident while my husband sort of skipped from job to job. I was fine with that at the time, but I'm on disability now and my husband has made a series of increasingly awful financial decisions that, well, let's just say they're bad and I can't stay married to him anymore. Are either of us entitled to alimony? Will he be entitled to any of this settlement when it comes through? If I collect child support from him, is that going to have any bearing on my other case? I'm calling my attorney and maybe a divorce attorney tomorrow if my current attorney can't do it. Hopefully he can recommend someone, but I don't know how long it'll take to set up a meeting, and I guess I just wanted to ask here first so I'll have some kind of heads up. Married almost 20 years in South Carolina, if that matters. My accident was about 2 years ago. He's never acted as my caretaker or anything because I stayed at my mother's home with our children where she did most of the caretaking when I actually required it. Relevant comments. Comment 1. He shouldn't be, but this is something you should talk to your divorce lawyer about. They'll have far more information and the steps you will need to take to protect yourself and your kids. This is a little above Reddit's pay grade. OP. I'm planning on doing that ASAP. I'm just very nervous and freaking out a little because of course everything blew up over the weekend when all of the offices are closed. 9 a.m. can't get here fast enough. Thank you though. Comment 2. Congrats on moving on. It's never easy. I think that the settlement payment should be separate property if received after the legal separation. Filing date. When you file, you list community assets, debts, and in separate property/debts, which include things you had before the marriage and had after the separation. I would think that since you don't have a judgment or payment yet, you should be entitled to that as separate property. OP. Thank you. It's been nerve-wracking and kind of scary. When you file, you list community assets, debts, and separate property/debts, which include things you had before the marriage and had after the separation. This part scares me. A few days ago, I found out he'd taken out a loan for personal reasons. I have no idea where or how much it was for. All I know is I didn't get a dime of it. I tried to guesstimate how much he got based on his plans, but I've been told by others that number is likely way off. I'm worried that he's done this before, because while he makes decent money, we've been so broken barely scraping by. After bills and stuff, he should have at least $500 left over every month. More if he's had any raises since starting, but we can't even afford the basics anymore. So if it turns out he's been getting credit cards or other loans and owes a ton of money without my knowledge, am I on the hook for that? Even if I didn't benefit from it in any way? Comment 3. Unfortunately, most likely the answer is yes. Sign up for a credit monitoring service and run a credit report. Better yet, sign up for 2 accounts, one in his name. You'll be able to see what loans and credit cards are taken out and account payment history and balances. And importantly, lock your credit so he can't take out more cards or loans. You'll have to lock in with all 3 credit score companies. Do this now. Would I be the asshole for telling my boyfriend that him being a Trump supporter gives me the ICK? Hi y'all. New account because I don't really want anybody connecting this with me. I, 20F, started dating my boyfriend, 21M, about 2-ish months ago. We've known each other for approximately 3 years. We weren't initially interested in dating, but it kinda just happened, and things have been really well except for one thing. I found out he's a Trump supporter. Now before you lecture me in the comments about how I shouldn't let politics get in the way of my relationship, please hear me out. It's just been a couple of things that have really rubbed me the wrong way about him for some reason. For context, I am a Hispanic female immigrant, fled from a country where, if I can put it in simplest terms, went to shit, who's had nothing but bad experiences with Trump supporters because almost every single time without fail, they would always say or do something extremely demeaning to myself or my family. Talking about how people like us should be deported without even realizing they are referring to us, saying that people like me are a threat to the country, slut-shaming, etc., etc. I consider myself the kind of person who judges a person's character based on what they believe in, and time again, it's been proved to me that these types of people are the type I should stay away from. On the day that Trump got convicted, we started talking about politics, and he told me that he's not really a felon. The courts were unfair, there was bias, and he should have had a fair trial. Not exactly verbatim, but that's pretty much the point he made when I told him that Trump was a felon now. When we were watching The Boys, S4, and that one part where an old man was explaining to Newman that women can reject pregnancies, he agreed with that old man. When I explained to him that that's not how women work, he apologized to me, but I was still absolutely surprised that he didn't even understand such a basic thing about women. He has a sister, so it's not like he grew up without women in his life. We had a conversation about immigration, and he told me that all immigrants should be immediately deported. I told him that myself and my family are immigrants, and if that meant he wanted US to be deported, to which he said, but you guys are legal. I'm talking about the illegal ones. I told him that this type of rhetoric makes me feel unsafe, and the conversation kinda just ended there. When we were having a conversation about the Trump-Epstein relationship, he told me that it was all a conspiracy and that Trump isn't the type of person to do that. I brought up a bunch of examples of Trump being a predator, the pussy grabber stuff, heckling a 10-year-old, the creepy comments about his daughter, the flight logs, making the point that while being guilty by association isn't a thing, the other instances of him being a predator make this seem a lot more plausible. He told me that Trump never did any of that. And in a way, that kinda broke the camel's back for me, because I myself am a victim of sexual assault. And the nasty thought occurred to me that if I ever got assaulted, he probably wouldn't even believe me. That he is standing behind someone I consider a rapist means that he condones Trump's actions, and by extension, the actions of the man who assaulted me. I don't know how he, who grew up with women, and has a girlfriend, who he is fully aware of is Hispanic and an immigrant, has LGBTQ+ friends, and states that he loves people like me and his family, can even stand behind something like that. It makes me wonder if there's a side of him that he hasn't revealed to me yet, because this is a new relationship. And that makes me extremely uncomfortable. I'm asking if I WBTAH for telling him that this gives me the ick, because my own family is telling me that I shouldn't let politics get in the way of my relationship. That Trump wants people to fight each other, and that I shouldn't let Trump win. But I really don't know. Can I get some advice? Relevant comments. Cat Peacematologist, NTA. He may be speaking out of brainwashed ignorance, but even after offering your perspective, he tells you that you're wrong. If you stay with him, you will never stop having to educate this guy, and he doesn't really want to be educated, OP. Yeah, I can agree with that. Every time I invite him to do his own research, he'll always pull up a pro-Trump article and use it as evidence that I'm wrong, or ask me multiple times where I'm getting my resources until I doubt myself. He's been asking me to promise that we wouldn't let our differences in beliefs cause problems in our relationship, and I feel like I'm being babied a bit. It's been really stressing me out. Because aside from that, he's really nice to me. And a lot of my family is excited about meeting him and his family. Breaking up with him after I just announced I was dating him would cause even more problems for me, but the more I think about it, the more I realize that it will probably be for the better. I think I'm okay with carrying through with it. I'll talk to him when I see him later. I'm not really excited about it because we go to the same school. Update. Hey y'all, update here. I didn't really expect my last post to blow up or for people to tell me that this is a justifiable reason for ending a relationship, so thank you for not being judgmental. A lot of people were asking me what country my family came from, so I'll just say it since I don't think that's identifiable information. It's Venezuela. If you don't know what's happening there, then I envy you. Also, shout out to those PPL who thought this was AI generated. I find it kinda sad that this has pretty much become the state of Reddit now. Like, if you think something's AI, just don't engage with it. That's what people who post AI want from you. Don't let them win. Now on to the update. I spent the last couple of days with my dad, who was visiting me, and deleting social media and muting a bunch of politics-related stuff, because I've come to realize that regularly listening to people talk about how people like me ruin the country and how we don't belong here isn't really good for my mental health. And neither is dating someone who openly admits to supporting that group. So I talked to, now ex-BF. I went to his room instead of inviting him to mine, because I knew that if I let him in my room he would just refuse to leave until he convinced me, and I wanted to keep the power of removing myself from the situation at any time. We live in a college dorm. Firstly, I should say that I admitted to him on the day that I made my first post that him supporting a known rapist is hurtful to me, because him tolerating that behavior makes me question if he's tolerant of the POS who assaulted me, and thus, I see him in a different light, and he sent a very long text message just telling me that it hurt his feelings and that he does care about me being essayed. I didn't really understand though, because he votes for a P***say grabber. It boiled down to, I feel terrible that you see me as the type of person who'd be okay with rape, because I'm not okay with it. I acknowledge that I might have been an AH to say that, so I started that conversation by apologizing to him and then following with me just telling him that I want to end the relationship and going back to being friends. I don't think I meant the friends part though. You can't have your cake and eat it. I can't be your friend if you affiliate yourself with a group of people who regularly shit on me. He tried to convince me to stay by saying that he really loved me and cared about me and respected my opinions. that we shouldn't let politics get in the way of our relationship. I responded that I can't change what he believes and that I value a person's beliefs and the group of people they associate with as a method of how I judge their character. I've already judged him. I don't like what I see, and therefore, I've lost my feelings for him. He told me I was making a generalization. I told him that while it is true that I might be making a generalization, we can't change the fact that in this landscape of politics, many of my rights are in the chopping block, and that I'm already starting to resent him for not really feeling listened to when I try to talk about how anxious it's making me. He told me that none of that stuff is going to happen, and that our different opinions shouldn't get in the way of our relationship. That he's voting for T*ump because he thinks he can fight inflation and cares about military members. I told him that while I can list a million reasons why that isn't true, that isn't relevant to the conversation. He then said that all his other relationships never consisted of talking about politics and that this was ridiculous. I pretty much told him that he can't have his cake and eat it. I can't date someone who associates with people who give me trouble, and that this won't be sustainable. Ending is better for the both of us. I realized that this conversation was going nowhere and decided to just leave. I told him to just give up on it already before leaving. He kept asking me to stay while he thought about what to say, but I didn't. I'm just done. I don't really feel sad. I feel so relieved. I'm going to leave social media for a while and just focus on myself for a while. I'm going to therapy too. I'll stick around to read your comments. IDK how much longer I'll be able to respond though. If I go radio silent, then just take that as a sign that I'm no longer on this app. Have a nice day. Relevant comments. Mame Dennis 1974, NTA. You don't break up with him because he gives you the ick. His support of a racist and homophobic convicted felon does not align with your values. It's not a quirky little thing, like disagreeing on a choice of music or what team to root for in a game. BDW, he may claim to have all these diverse friends, but I can assure you that they do not consider him their friend with views like this. Anyone in your family's opinion about your relationship does not matter here. They aren't dating him. You are. The fact that you point out to him how you are an immigrant too, and that doesn't seem to register at all to him. Honey, he's in a cult. There's no saving him, OP. You pretty much summed up my exact thoughts on why his gay friend doesn't want to hang out with him anymore. I found out recently that there's a bit of a rift in their relationship, and I didn't even start thinking about why until I learned more about him. Gosh, everyone's burning bridges. Am I the A for telling my girlfriend she overreacted after walking in on her son and his girlfriend cuddling while undressed on vacation? June 28, 2024. All names are fake. I am 48 years old and have been dating my girlfriend Kelly, who is 50, for nearly 2 years. We are currently on vacation with her son Ryan, his girlfriend Emily, my sister, brother-in-law, niece, and her boyfriend. To preface this, I know Ryan very well. I've known him for nearly a decade now. I was his coach in high school and we grew very, very close. He's practically a son to me. He's also been dating Emily since high school. When we were planning this trip, Kelly said that Ryan wasn't allowed to share a room with Emily. I thought she was joking, but she was not. I know Ryan is sexually active, and I've known by word of his mouth since he was a teenager. I said fine, and the technical plans were that Ryan and my niece's boyfriend would share a room, and my niece and Emily would share a room. Obviously that room arrangement wasn't going to last. Everyone was fine with the technical room arrangement. The girls even had a slumber party one of the first nights. Ryan picked up that this was just to appease Kelly. I handed him his keys and said, "Give the second one to whoever," and he immediately gave it to Emily. My niece did the same in giving her spare key to her boyfriend. This is exactly what everyone thought would happen. Anyway, somehow Ryan had left his wallet in our room last night. Instead of bringing it to him at breakfast or knocking on his door or even shooting him a text, Kelly used the key in it to walk into his room. She saw things she didn't want to see. To be fair, they weren't having sex. What was described to me was that they were both nude, covered up at least on their bottom halves, but they were snuggled up and he was running his fingers on her back. This sounds like how most loving couples are after having sex. She was in hysterics. She refused to come to breakfast. I told her that was fine, but she wasn't going to make this a big deal on our vacation. Emily very sweetly apologized to me and said she knows how Kelly can be, which frankly made me feel terrible. When I went to retrieve Kelly from the room, she was still in a mood. She expressed to me how upset she was, and I told her to be thankful all she saw was the snuggling and not the actual act. That made her really upset, and I told her she was overreacting. Ryan is an adult who has been with the same woman for years. She has confided in me before that she doesn't like Emily, but frankly I've never seen her do anything wrong. She's a bit punky and Ryan is a bit more preppy. But she's a sweet person who cares deeply for Ryan and vice versa. She called me every name in the book when I told her she was overreacting. She called him a child and accused me of taking Emily's side over her. I'm genuinely concerned. I've even considered the possibility that she forgot to bring some mood-regulating medication because I have never seen her act like this, and I'm being shunned by her for being an asshole. Currently, we're all sitting on the beach while Kelly mopes inside. Edited to add, I wanted to add some relevant information that I see asked in the comments. So Ryan and Emily live together and have for, I want to say, 5 years. Ryan paid for his and Emily's portion of this trip. When Kelly brought up them not sharing a room as I was booking it, I thought she was joking and just laughed. It wasn't until we were checking in and I was passing out key cards that she reminded me of what she said, and at that point, instead of arguing about it in the lobby, I said fine and handed people their keys and told them to do whatever they want. I just wanted a drink and eat some fruit on the beach. She knows she has an unhealthy relationship with her son and is in therapy for it. She does take medication, or medications, to help control her mood, but I'm not sure if she does so at the moment. I think that's all for now. If I see anything else, I will add it. I'm sorry I can't get to all of the comments. There's a lot of them, and I'm on vacation. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, not the A. Yes, she is overreacting. Ryan is far from being a child. He's a 23-year-old man, and has been in a stable relationship for at least 5 years. Your girlfriend shouldn't have even been trying to police them via the room assignments in the first place. OP. Yeah, he is definitely not a child. They've been dating for closer to 8 years if not mistaken. I agree. It was a bit odd to me, and I suppose I should have questioned it more at the time as opposed to just shrugging it off. Commenter 2, not the A. Your girlfriend sounds kind of like a nut job with no respect for her son. Hopefully this is a one-off thing, but considering Emily said, I know how Kelly can be, I am guessing it is not. Hold firm on this one. Defend Ryan and Emily as much as you have to. They did nothing wrong and should feel zero guilt, embarrassment, or any other negative feeling for this. OP, she's usually pretty great, though she's been cold albeit polite towards Emily for as long as I've been around. I'm not sure if something happened, but they don't get along well. With that being said, I do think I'll stick up for them on this one. I don't think I'm going to waver. This was uncomfortable for them too, and I don't want their time to be ruined because of it. Commenter 3. She returned the wallet that way so that she could catch them doing it and she could feel wronged and offended. OP on if his girlfriend is overly attached to her son. I don't think she's ever used the word stealing, but she did get in an argument with him maybe a year or so ago about how all he does is spend time with Emily. I can't be certain though, I doubt that argument was the first of its kind. Commenter 4. It's called enmeshment. Go on over to Just Normal and read the pinned resources. Commenter 5. Not the A. Kelly sounds like the child in this situation, throwing a little temper fit because she isn't getting her way. Her son is an adult. He has sex. She needs to get over herself and let her adult son be an adult and make his own decisions. Kelly is controlling and obsessive and needs to stop because she is destroying her relationship with her son. And if he marries Emily, she's destroying her relationship with her future daughter-in-law. And what's going to happen when they have kids? Do you think Kelly is going to be welcomed into Emily's home to see her grandkids after Kelly treats her like a slut and pariah? Probably not. Update, June 30th, 2024. The original post and this update are a bit long, so I opted to write the update in a new post altogether. Apologies in advance for the lengthy post. First and foremost, thank you to everyone who commented. I appreciated the helpful comments and was entertained by the less helpful ones. Even if I didn't reply, I did read every single one. Before I get started, there are a few things I wanted to clear up. I know Kelly is mentally ill, however in the nearly 2 years we've been together I never really noticed anything particularly concerning. Her relationship with Ryan has gotten a lot better both from what I can see and from what Ryan and I have talked about. As for her relationship with Emily, she was never particularly rude to her, but they've also never been close. Kelly is in regular therapy and is medicated for mood regulation. Additionally, I am very careful when it comes to enabling behavior for anyone, including Kelly. The reason I took her comment about them staying in separate rooms as a joke is because I genuinely thought it was a joke. That was a ridiculous statement to make. I was sitting at my desk booking the rooms, she had made that comment. I chuckled, and then we started talking about something else. I had no reason to believe that she genuinely felt that way. When she reminded me of her rule in the hotel lobby, I looked at her like she was crazy. She didn't make a scene, and frankly I was exhausted, so I just gave up and handed people the pairs of key cards and told them to do whatever they wanted, and within the hour I was asleep on the beach. I spoke to Ryan before anyone else, apologizing on Kelly's behalf. Since I've known him the longest of the young couple, I figured it'd be easier to talk to him. He was surprisingly understanding of the situation and apologized back to me for starting this whole thing, which I let him know was a ridiculous thing to apologize for. Before I even had the chance, he himself brought up emotional incest and said that that was something she was really bad about when he was a teenager and still needed to work on now that he was an adult out of the house. I spoke with Emily and the conversation went similarly. Ryan has always been very strict on his boundaries surrounding how his mother treats Emily, usually leaving her alone for a few days or weeks until she is able to be respectful towards her again. When I asked them both if they knew why Emily was disliked by Kelly, neither of them knew exactly. Emily did suggest that right before Ryan moved out, Kelly had walked in on them actually having sex. Her reaction was even more extreme than this one. They had just graduated high school, meaning Ryan was about 3 months from 19 and Emily was newly 18. This argument caused him to move in with Emily's family, which according to Ryan was extremely tough for Kelly. That event practically thrust her into needing to deal with her attachment issues and trauma, because Ryan told her he would no longer be in contact with her unless she started going to therapy and working on herself. The day of the post, Kelly was able to get an emergency appointment with her therapist. After that, she had calmed down significantly and I was able to actually talk to her. While the whole talk was far too personal for me to go into detail about, I want to talk about a few points. The first thing I asked was what the actual hell was going on. While her unhealthy attachment to her son is at play, she told me the situation was triggering and sent her spiraling, then referenced the circumstances regarding Ryan moving out, which we had never spoken about before. She has a lot of trauma surrounding being a single mother, and certainly has abandonment issues. Ryan's father was a brief few-week fling who she thought would want to stay with her to raise a baby, and ended up leaving her alone. I decided to ask her why she disliked Emily. At first she said it was because she was loudmouthed and had Ryan by the balls. I told her to rephrase in a more productive way and she said she was opinionated and Ryan would move mountains for her. While I do adore Emily, she is certainly opinionated, but very intelligent and extremely respectful and polite. Additionally, Ryan hangs off of every word she says. He has told me himself that she's always the most interesting person in the room to him. That's not to say that both of them are perfect. In fact, I saw them bicker about a plate of fruit yesterday, but they are both great together. I told Kelly she should be proud that she raised a son that loves and appreciates his significant other so much that he has openly admitted that he would do anything for her. That lightened up her mood significantly. Funny enough, her therapist suggested she talk to her primary care doctor or obstetrician, gynecologist about menopause, which was what another commenter suggested. Her therapist suggested her medication may need to be adjusted if that's the case, as the extreme reaction was frankly out of character, and there have been other mood-related issues she's been dealing with. Initially, I was not going to ask about what medication she forgot. As someone who is on antidepressants, whenever I would express rational anger, some toxic people in my life would immediately dismiss it, claiming I haven't taken my meds. I absolutely hate that. With that being said, I decided it was best for me to ask which medication she forgot. To no one's shock, it was indeed a mood-regulating medication. Her sister is joining us for the second week, so she will be bringing her medication. Finally, Ryan and Emily had joined us in a conversation. It was filled with a lot of apologies, a little bit of tears, and a surprising amount of hugging. From what I gather, this is not the first conversation of its kind between the three. One thing that was spoken about was how Kelly ended up with Ryan's wallet in the first place. Ryan is not someone who forgets their wallet, or their keys, or phone, or any other personal item. There was a brief argument about whether or not Kelly took his wallet, but she denied this, and Emily suggested it just fell out of his pocket when he laid on the couch. The biggest topic of conversation was Kelly opening the door with no invitation. She was not able to give a rational reason for doing so and finally agreed with Emily when she had said that Kelly just wanted to catch them off guard. Ryan also put Kelly in her place as far as boundaries go, which I have seen him do before but am always impressed by, considering I remember when he felt like he had to just let his mom do whatever she wanted so that she was happy. Kelly accepted responsibility and spoke rather openly about her conversation with her therapist, which led to a lot of compassion and understanding from Ryan and Emily. Emily expressed her gratitude for Kelly accepting responsibility, and even suggested they get a drink together. It was generally agreed upon that this entire situation was ridiculous, and that everyone just wanted to enjoy their vacation. Kelly finally gathered herself enough to join us all for our vacation. I feel at ease knowing I can finally, actually relax. Since then our days have been filled with drinks, beach, good food, and naps, and I couldn't be happier. Relevant comments. Commenter 6. Very well handled OP and props to everyone for talking it all out and moving through it. Commenter 7. Good on Ryan for setting boundaries, but I feel bad that he's had to deal with an emotional, incestuous mother his entire life. Hope his therapy is helping him deal with that. Commenter 8. Sounds like things ended relatively well, but I expect this will be a recurring issue for the foreseeable future, especially if she ever forgets her medications again. The fact that she still dislikes Emily because 1. She's opinionated just like Kelly. 2. Ryan cares deeply for her. It is a pretty big indicator that the emotional incest is still extremely strong. Based on your post, it still does not seem like Kelly realizes the reason Ryan had to leave the house was because of how controlling and overbearing she was. I would think that after 5 years of therapy, Ryan being 18 to 23 years old, Kelly would be more in control of her actions and emotions related to Ryan and Emily. Commenter 9. At first she said it was because she was loud-mouthed and had Ryan by the balls. I told her to rephrase in a more productive way and she said she was opinionated and Ryan would move mountains for her. I love you for this right here. You seem like a very understanding and thoughtful dude. I feel like you handled this like a professional. No notes, keep being awesome, my dude. Edit. I told Kelly she should be proud that she raised a son that loves and appreciates his significant other so much that he has openly admitted that he would do anything for her. That lightened up her mood significantly. God-tier diplomat. Commenter 10. He has told me himself that she's always the most interesting person in the room to him, is some sweet-ass shit. Makes my eyes go glossy. She should definitely be proud of the man she's raised, not battling it. But I get how difficult this situation can be. Glad to hear there's been some levity and love spread through here. Makes my heart warm. I discovered explicit messages between my wife and a man at the gym. When confronted, she admitted to the affair but insisted it wasn't serious. My wife is 30 years old and she's always worked out and been in shape, but lately I feel like it's becoming excessive. She used to regularly work out at a gym when she was in college. At some point she stopped going to the gym, I think lately just due to her schedule, and preferred to work out at home or go for runs outside. About 18 months ago she announced she was going to get back into the habit of going to the gym. She now has a job where she's able to make more time for it. It started off normal, but slowly became more and more frequent. She signed up for classes on the weekend, both days. She started going to the gym every day, then it became the morning before work and then again later in the evening. Every single day. If she's stressed, she goes to the gym. Experience some sort of life crisis. She immediately heads to the gym. We have an argument, run to the gym. She's 4 months pregnant right now. I'm kind of surprised we even had time to make a kid. I understand that it's safe for her to work out, especially since she was already in the habit of doing it before she got pregnant, but the intensity is not slowing down. If she misses one of her normal gym sessions, she becomes so irritable. Like a junkie not getting her fix. It's just bizarre. Truly a case of too much of a good thing. Of course she gets upset when I voice that I feel it's becoming an unhealthy obsession and that I miss spending time with her because she's there so much. She has all of these friends and this whole circle of people there that she seems to prefer spending time with over me. Why don't we work out together at the gym? The gym is her time, she says. This isn't a case of me feeling insecure because she's in great physical shape and I'm a fat slob. I work out and am in shape. My job really requires me to stay in shape, so I can't let myself go if I want to. I genuinely feel her gym habits are unhealthy. She's over-exercising, for one. There is such a thing. But worse than that, I feel it's becoming a way for her to escape everything else in her life. She never actually fixed anything that goes wrong in her life. She just runs off to the gym to get some sort of mood boost and then that's it. She also never gets anything else done in a practical sense because how can she when she's at the gym so often? It's to the point where I have to do every chore, and if food is getting made I'm going to have to do it. I don't expect her to do all of those things, but it should at least be a shared effort. People we know have even commented about it to me. They've said things about how she seems different, how she sure is at the gym a lot, and many of her friends and family barely see her anymore. Some have even suggested she's having an affair with somebody there. Please tell me that this doesn't sound normal to you. She insists this is perfectly normal. Update 1. I posted not very long ago about my wife's addiction to the gym. A compulsion, if you will. She spends most of her free time there. She often goes twice a day and sometimes even 3 times if we have a fight at night and she needs to run off instead of actually talking to me. She won't let me go to her gym and she refuses to go to mine. Her gym is her place, my gym is my place, and that's just the way it has to be according to her. I'd love to have her come along with me. I've invited her multiple times. She's about 18 weeks pregnant right now. This is our first baby. She worked out like crazy prior to the pregnancy and she continues to work just as hard now. I truly didn't think she was cheating on me. People suggested it in the last thread and I laughed. You can tell she's at the gym a lot. She's in great shape. So she's obviously going there. I felt really confident about the cheating issue, and when I posted 9 days ago, I wasn't even considering cheating. I'm embarrassed to admit that after reading a lot of the comments on my last post, I thought maybe I was being overly confident about her fidelity. She usually always has her phone on her, but she left it on the kitchen counter, and as stupid as I felt, I decided to do a quick swipe through her texts. She had a current text conversation going on with a guy. I recognized the name. The same name of a guy from the gym she mentions a lot. She's friends with a lot of people there, and went to one of their weddings last fall. I wasn't too terribly concerned until I started reading the texts. Never wanted to know what the guy's dick looked like, but I know now. She was only out of the room for literally about a minute or two, so I had to scroll fast. I was furious. I asked her what the fuck that conversation was about. She started yelling at me for looking at her phone. I told her she's acting so weird and the gym obsession was really bothering me, so I just decided to look and was ashamed that I did, but I thought I'd find nothing at all. She said, "It's nothing. It's nothing." Didn't look like anything to me. She sure seemed pretty interested in this nothing. I wanted to know if she's been fucking him. For how long? She kept saying no. I left the house because I was so furious, but not before I slammed her phone on the ground and shattered it. She was calling me all sorts of names for breaking her phone. She hit me on the back as hard as she could. I left. Went to my brother's house. My brother and sister-in-law were shocked, although my sister-in-law was one of the most vocal ones about my wife's gym obsession being weird and bringing it up to me constantly. I went home. She was in bed crying. She obviously couldn't call me or anyone else for that matter. She was laying it on thick. "I don't know if you'd ever come home. Give me a break." I took her phone to get repaired tonight. She doesn't deserve it, but I still feel like an ass breaking her phone. I still don't know how deep it goes. She won't admit to anything beyond what I saw. Was it sexting, bad enough, or more? I'm convinced it was a lot more, but she refuses to hand over her phone and is now trying to act like I'm this terrible monster who is abusing her because I broke her phone. Not my proudest moment, but I honestly wanted to body slam her after she punched me. I have never and would never actually touch her like that. Update 2. Not sure if posting something in my profile will be seen by anyone, but I don't feel like making another update in a subreddit. Today my wife asked me to stay home from work so we could talk. She laid in bed all day yesterday trying to make me feel sorry for her, but I paid absolutely no attention to her and ended up leaving the house to go to my family's Super Bowl party. I wasn't in the mood to go, but I wasn't going to sit at home with her. It really bothered her that I left. She kept texting me things like, "Who just leaves like that? When something like this is happening, who is that cold and callous that they just leave to go to a party?" I stayed home today to talk to her. She was full of tears. She's so sorry. According to her, she really was going to the gym twice a day because she likes going there. That's where her friends are. Makes her feel good. It's fun for her. She met this guy there and he started flirting with her. Everyone likes him. He's one of the most popular guys there. I didn't realize there were popular people at gyms. She admitted that she flirted back but didn't mean anything by it. She didn't reciprocate very much at first, but he gave her butterflies, and she just found herself flirting back without thinking. She said it felt like she had a crush on somebody when she was in school when she was younger. They started texting. At first it was just friendly and nothing sexual for several months, but she'd feel giddy every time she got a message from him. She was really attracted to him, but told him that she was married and there could never actually be anything between them. According to her, he kept flirting with her anyway and said, "Sure, we won't cross the line." Until they did cross the line. She said she had tried to resist it for a while, but then one day they kissed. She admitted to enjoying it but also feeling that it was wrong. She must not have felt that bad because she slept with him for the first time later that night. She described it like falling in love with somebody for the first time. All she could think about was him. Is she in love with him? She doesn't know. Is this baby mine? She thinks so, but there's always a small chance it could be his. He always uses a condom, so she doesn't think it's his baby, but they were sleeping together at the time she got pregnant. She loves me. She can't help that there's just this huge spark between the two of them. She doesn't know if she loves him. She doesn't know if the baby is mine. She doesn't know why she did this. She doesn't know what she thinks we should do. The nail in the coffin is when she said, "You would really leave me if it's not your baby, would you?" She had the balls to ask me that. I told her of course I'm leaving her and I wouldn't raise another man's child. She seemed shocked. She said, "Really? With everything we have in all our history, you wouldn't even consider it?" She can't be serious. I told her no, I would never consider it. She agreed to get a DNA test. She tearfully agreed, like I'm supposed to feel sorry for her about it. I don't know who this woman is. She was crying the whole time, but not tears of an ashamed or sorry person. They were tears for herself and meant to try to make me feel bad. Feel bad for what? That her heart is apparently so torn. My life has been reduced to a trashy daytime talk show. The woman who was once my wife, who I considered a classy woman, has turned into complete trailer trash. Today she announced that she's moving in with her affair partner from the gym. She's pregnant, might be his kid, might be mine. She's too embarrassed to go get blood drawn for a paternity test. She spent about a week trying to get my attention, to get me to talk to her, to get me to beg her to be mine. I didn't fall for any of it. I've largely been ignoring her, and when we have to speak I keep it very brief. We've been living together this whole time, but I'm in a different room now and functioning separate from her in all ways. So her pouting and trying to get me to pay attention to her and give her a gold star for not going to the gym for 5 days in a row didn't work. Today she texted me to say she is moving in with him. Somehow I still care about this person. I've already met with a lawyer though. I can care about her as a human being and possible mother of my child without being married to her. Still, it stung to hear her say she was going to be with him. I told her it wasn't a smart move to leave the house. I've even told her she should probably meet with a lawyer. She doesn't care about anything I have to say. I don't think she needs to move in with anybody. I actually feel bad for her that she can't just be on her own. I asked her if he actually knew she was pregnant and wanted to know what stories she's been telling him this whole time. She said he knows and he doesn't care if it's my baby. He loves her and wants to be with her. Bizarre. You can't find anyone else? Somebody who isn't a married pregnant woman? Why would you take that on? Doesn't make sense to me. He's scum, but he's a good-looking scum who apparently is gainfully employed and owns his own home. So you can't tell me that my married pregnant wife is your only option here. I just can't imagine being a single guy like that and wanting to put up with this baggage when I could have other options. And if this really is my baby, then what? They'll live with my wife and this weasel 50% of the time. I don't know how my life turned into this mess. And she thinks it's embarrassing to have to go get blood drawn. My wife moved in with her AP last weekend. She didn't take very much at all. Most of her stuff is still in our house. I still get the feeling she was just waiting for me to beg her to come home, but I didn't reach out to her at all after she left. It was a strange mixture of relief, anger, and sadness. I don't think I ate at all until last night. Just never felt hungry. Drank a little too much. But I'm fine. I'm posting this update because I've received a ton of messages from people, and honestly it's emotionally draining to respond to each one and to have to type the same stuff out. I just don't feel like talking about her that much. So this morning she texted me to say her AP wants to get a DNA test done, so she's going to do it. Look at that. It didn't matter when I wanted one, but now that he has requested it, she suddenly thinks it's a great idea. She asked if I wanted to submit a sample because it'll be cheaper to have 2 dads tested as part of one package. I don't even care about the cost at this point. I just want an answer. I don't have to see or interact with them at all. I just have to make my own appointment with the lab to get my cheeks swabbed. So this Saturday I'm going to do that, and we should have the results within a week. I'll take what I can get at this point because it's better than her dragging this out for another 20 weeks. So that's it. I'm fine. I'm going to work every day. Trying to function. Just feel stuck in limbo. I miss her. Honestly, I hate that she's there with him. It makes me sick. Part of me does want to beg her to come home. It'll be even worse if I find out that it's my baby and she's there with him. Unless he drops her at that news. I won't let myself beg her. I won't play any of those games with her. Update 2. My wife has been having an affair with a guy she met at the gym for at least nearly a year. She's around 22 weeks pregnant right now. She was somewhere around 17 weeks when I discovered she was cheating. She maintained that she was positive I was the father, but then refused to get a paternity test done to ease my mind. We recently had a paternity test done, at the request of her affair partner, and it proves the baby is mine. It's been very mixed emotions for me, very up and down. Originally I thought I just wanted to be completely done with her and not have any lifelong ties in the form of a full-blown human being we shared, but I was sort of happy or relieved when I got the results. I'd already had it in my mind that I was going to be a father for months before I found out she was cheating. Sometimes I just have moments where I can't believe this is my life, that this is the situation that my kid will be born into, and I hate her for it. She's still living with him. All of her belongings are still here in our house. I refuse to do the work of packing everything up for her. She doesn't seem concerned about taking any of her things, beyond the essentials. After we got the news that I'm the baby's father, she texted me to say she's glad I'm the father and that she knows I'll be a great dad. She was texting me new baby name ideas last night. She's tried calling, but I ignore the calls. I only speak with her via text. This morning she asked if she could come by and get a few things. I told her it was fine, as I've been advised by my lawyer to not prevent her entry from the home, but I told her that he'd better not be with her. So who shows up with her? The scumbag boyfriend. He walks right on into the house behind her like it's no big deal. She ran upstairs to get the stuff she wanted and he and I were just left standing there in the living room. He told me it wasn't her fault that he was there. She told him I didn't want to come, but he forced his way along. He wanted to talk to me, supposedly, to tell me he understands how I must be feeling. No, you don't know. He told me he knows I probably don't believe him, but he genuinely loves her and knew he probably wasn't the father. He accepts it and then tries to assure me he won't try to take my place with the baby and hopes we can just get along since we're both going to be in her life now. He promises that she's fine. He's looking after her. I told him that I couldn't for the life of me imagine what he wanted with a pregnant woman who is having another man's child, which I found weird. Then I told him if he didn't get out of my house I'd punch him. I went upstairs and she was trying to find some things in the bathroom. I got mad, asked her why she brought him along, and told her I find it really strange that he still wants to be with her now that he knows he has nothing to do with this baby, and that I refuse to let him have anything to do with my child. She said he talked her into coming and she's sorry and never meant for any of this to happen, but she's in love with him now. He is supposedly what a 30-year-old girl is looking for, not me. She's setting up a nursery in his house and I can set one up at my house, and she has no intention of trying to get full custody or anything like that. She doesn't want to keep me from being involved in my child's life. How generous of her. She went back downstairs and I followed her, and he was still standing there in the living room, and I just walked up to him and punched him. He stumped back and fell into a table. She yelled, "What the fuck?" and ran over to him. I don't even care at this point. As if he's going to call the cops. He deserved it, and it wouldn't have happened had he just left like I told him to. Several hours later she texted me to say she was sorry about today. He really meant what he said, and he's actually a good guy and he cares about her and he respects me. WTF, does he respect me? He was screwing my wife in the gym locker room. I was like, you can't be serious. She said, fine. I'm trying to have a mature conversation about this. I can't help that we fell in love. Believe it or not, I'm not trying to hurt you and I want everything to be amicable. This guy stole my wife and he's stealing my kid too. Sure, I'm the actual father, but now they're setting up a nursery together in his house. I've tried to not feel jealous or sad. I've tried to maintain the thought that he's the trash man who picked up my garbage. Sometimes I feel that way, but the truth is that I loved her, and still love her. I don't want to stay married to her on principle alone, but this is devastating to me. Update 3. My wife is basically 26 weeks pregnant now. There actually hasn't been much drama with her and her AP. I was away for a long weekend last week and it was nice to just get away from home for a while. Only really annoying thing that's happened is that I told her I'm being in the delivery room, not him. After everything she's done, she owes me that. It's not his baby. He has no right or reason to be there. I will not be the one waiting outside when my kid is being born. She said yeah, she agreed, and she never planned to have him in there with her. I asked her if she'd told him that and she said no. I told her to tell him he'll have no part in it. Well, she told him and apparently he didn't like that, and he started trying to convince her why he should be there. Next thing I know, she's telling me that he really wants to be there and she's the one giving birth, so she should be able to say who she wants there, and she wants him there. I suppose he'll start making name suggestions soon and we'll try to overrule names we've had picked out for our future kids for years. We've talked a little bit and she told me I can have our house and the dog and our divorce. I'm requesting that we sell the house and split the profit. I already wrote that in the paperwork. I'm not buying her out of our house, a house that I've made all the payments on anyway. I have a much better credit score than her and less debt. I compromised a lot because she liked this house. I'd rather be able to get my own place based just on what I want and with no reminders of her. And there was already no way she was getting the dog. I already had proof that I owned him though, so she wouldn't really stand a chance of having a court award the dog to her. It's the one thing I told my lawyer I wanted above everything else, not including any custody issues surrounding my actual human child. Honestly, her AP can have her, but he will never ever have my dog. Not to mention my dog is 100 times more loyal than my wife, and some might even say better looking too. So with the idea I won't be living here in this house for much longer after the baby is born, if everything moves quickly, I decided I will still prepare a nursery here anyway in case anyone wants to try to accuse me of not being invested. I'm prepared for fatherhood. I'm trying to look at the positives. It doesn't matter what colors she likes or what themes. I can do whatever I want. Honestly, we've been together for so long and have lived together for most of our adult lives. It's sort of nice not living with somebody but sort of lonely too. I have friends and family, but it's hard to feel in the mood to go out or hang out with people too often. They always ask me about everything that's going on and it's just like I'm tired of that being the topic of conversation. I got a promotion at work, which financially would have been better had it happened after the divorce, but I'll take what I can get. I feel like I'm living in this limbo right now and a lot of what I do is always framed around how will this affect me in the divorce. Admittedly, I spy on them on social media sometimes. Guess I'm hoping to see he's been in a motorcycle accident or something now that the weather is nicer. Hasn't happened yet, but he's starting a new company and once that's up and running I can always get all my friends and family to leave 1-star reviews everywhere. Have to find ways to have a little fun. Sorry that I don't respond to a lot of messages or comments. Sometimes I just take big breaks from looking at Reddit since it can be depressing AF. Editing to add something I forgot. She told her family that we've split up and that she's with this other guy now. Her sister reached out to me to say how sorry she was. Her sister is a dumbass, that sort of thing. She told me that my wife was complaining about her AP. The sex is over when he's done and apparently he's really selfish with sex. He doesn't do extra little things for her that she's used to me doing. Like clearing the snow off her car in the morning and heating it up or offering to make her food after a long day. He doesn't speak her love language, and he hangs out with his friends too much. This made me so happy to hear. She's secretly miserable and I find that absolutely delightful. I'm still alive. I'm mainly posting here because several people have reached out to me and were concerned that I'd taken my own life. No, I'm not on the brink of ending my life. I think I'm doing better than I have since all of this started. Around the time of my last post, my story blew up and I was getting messages from people who saw it on TikTok and YouTube. I had to take a step back because it was a little overwhelming. I have over 100 unread messages here. I appreciate it, but it was a little uncomfortable at the time, and I got to the point where I didn't really want to talk about the situation with my wife and her AP anymore. So as of today, our baby is due in less than 10 weeks. We're in the home stretch now. I don't feel prepared at all. All of this other stuff has just been so distracting. I started working in a nursery. It's not done yet, but I have the floor finished and the walls painted. My ex-wife was impressed with the color scheme and furniture I chose. She's not legally my ex-wife yet, but I've started calling her that. It sort of makes it easier. I also packed up a bunch of her stuff. Originally, I refused to spend my time packing up her things, but eventually just said screw it and started packing it. I'm at the point where it'll just be easier to not see all of her stuff around here. Why did I leave it for so long? She came over to get some of the boxes I packed up. She came alone. Things were fine between us. I loaded the stuff into her car. We didn't argue. At one point she started to tear up and said she fucked up. I said yes she did, but there's no point talking about it now. She shit all over our marriage. She has her muscle-bound asshole to go home to now anyway, so who cares? She said I know, but it's not the same. I told her nothing has been the same since she decided to fuck him the first time. Supposedly he's going to let me be in the delivery room when my baby is born. I didn't even argue it when she said it like that, but inside I was boiling at the idea of him letting me be there for the birth of my child. She says she talked to him and he agreed it wouldn't really be right to not allow me to be there. I'm going to take what I can get if it means being there for the birth of my child. I'm going to try to just ignore him for the time being. She was acting all sweet and laying on all of the I really want you there, I really need you there stuff, and I know mentally I'm not in a place to be that cold to her when she starts acting that way. I'm trying to be indifferent more than anything else, but it's so hard when she's actually around and starts looking at me a certain way and making me feel bad. She invited me over to see the nursery they have set up at his house. I'm not sure I can bring myself to go into another man's house and look at the nursery set up for my kid. I did ask her if she was truly safe there though. I don't know why, it's just been bothering me. As pissed as I still am, I don't want to find out he's mistreating her, and I definitely don't want my kid to be going into an unsafe household. I haven't told her about anything her sister has told me. They probably won't last, but as of right now there's a very good chance my newborn baby will be going home to his house. It kills me to think about. It's almost soul-destroying to think about if I dwell on it too long. She says she's fine. He genuinely loves her. He's great with kids. He accepts that she's having a baby and that this is part of the package. She insists it's not weird because she wasn't pregnant when anything started between them. I asked her why she did it. Why did she ever let anything start between them in the first place? She said, I don't know. Then went into I don't want to talk about this mode and left pretty soon after. Typical behavior from her. Just run away. Overall, I'm doing okay. I'm not sitting here depressed and drinking a bottle of scotch every night anymore. I mean on occasion, but for the most part no. I feel more used to my new normal now, and that'll all change yet again pretty soon. New update. I have a baby. A little girl. I'm a dad. She was born yesterday at 11:57 p.m., 2 weeks early. As he's done before, she was having some pains off and on and he left for work yesterday morning. She works from home on Mondays. She told me around 8:30 a.m. she was having contractions 17 minutes apart. The same thing happened not long ago, but then by evening all the pain stopped. I was at work, so I told her to keep me posted. A little later, she said they were 15 minutes apart and she had some other signs it might be actual labor starting. I asked her if she needed somebody there with her. She said wanted me to come with her. I didn't even mean to volunteer myself. She was scared. I didn't even ask why she didn't call him. I left work and went over to his house. Uncomfortable doesn't begin to describe it, but there were obviously more important things going on. He wasn't there. She didn't even contact him. She said she just wanted it to be me and her there. In her words, he hadn't seen her pee or shit herself yet, but I've witnessed all of that stuff already, so she was more comfortable with me there. I really tried to be as nice and supportive as possible. Set the whole thing about her affair, our marriage, everything to the side for a brief time. I don't really know what my purpose was being there, but I think she just needed somebody there so she didn't feel alone. She spent most of the time stretching and doing some sort of yoga labor routine and bouncing on this huge exercise ball. I twiddled my thumbs for the most part and looked through a bunch of his belongings. I was timing the contractions and they were consistent and slowly did get closer together, so I thought it was probably actually going to happen. It wasn't nearly far enough along to go to the hospital yet, and it was getting close to when he'd get home. I was planning how I'd handle that when she called me into the bathroom to ask her if I thought her water broke. It wasn't like in the movies with this huge gush of water. So he got home and I was there. He came into the house and the first thing he asked was, "What are you doing here?" I think he thought something else was going on. "No, you just left and went to work and left her alone when she was scared." He said he was home and he'd be with her until it was time to go to the hospital. He put his hand on my shoulder and said something like, "Thanks, bud, I got it from here and we'll call you when we're on the way to the hospital." He called me bud. I told him I wasn't his fucking buddy and to fuck off. I could tell she wanted me to leave. I'm not sure she really wanted me to leave so much as she was in labor and the tension between the two of us wasn't what she needed, and I knew that. It was his house, so what was I supposed to do? I left and prayed they'd actually call me instead of letting me know the next day that my kid had been born. She texted me a few hours later to say the doctor told her to go to the hospital. At that point I still didn't know if I was going to be waiting outside or what he'd decide was best for his apparent wife and child. I was allowed to be in the room. I didn't force my way in there. She said she wanted me to be there. He was there too. By far the single most awkward experience of my life, and the only reason I was able to excuse it was because she told me she wanted me there and I didn't want to miss the chance to be there when my kid was born and to hold my kid before he did. I can't imagine what the doctors and nurses were thinking. Fucking humiliating. Then the guy tried to police what I could see. I put the baby in there. He's fucking watching and it's like this is still my wife and that's my baby. I chose to stay dignified and I ignored him the entire time. I was there to do whatever she told me to do and my focus wasn't on him, but in any other setting I don't think I would have been able to hold back. The baby came flying out. I mean, as far as labor goes. These are the nurses' words, and I trust labor and delivery nurses to know what they're talking about. She tore very bad because the baby came out so fast. The baby is so tiny, barely 6 pounds and only 18 inches, but perfectly healthy. I went home for a short rest, although I really couldn't rest at all. I went back today and of course he was there. Surprisingly, he said he was going to give us some time alone with the baby. Not sure if she had previously asked him to do that when I showed up or not, didn't ask. He even brought us all food back when he returned a few hours later. I wondered if mine might be poisoned, but I tried to be nice. He's still not gone, so I'm wondering how long he'll be around. I just can't let myself do anything that will make her try to keep me away from my daughter now. I don't want them making it difficult for me. I'd prefer not to share her name publicly, but I can confirm it's the name we chose for a daughter years ago. He had no say and he hasn't said anything about the name at all. It kills me to see him holding her though. I eventually left because it was just too much sitting there pretending to be like some bizarre company. I'll know I will get my time with her when he's not around. He's already posting them on his social media. I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I'm going to figure it out. I just have to find a way to be the bigger person because I won't let him or their relationship discourage me from being my daughter's dad. I totally get doing anything for your kids now, and if it means having to pretend to get along with him, I will. Relevant comments from OP. It's not about picking me. I just have a hard time not caring about her anymore. The fact that she was carrying my child made it a lot more difficult. Otherwise, I could have and would have cut all ties with her. I don't know. I still feel the need to protect her or help her. Hopefully it'll get easier now that she and the baby are two separate people. Honestly, I'm considering doing something pretty stupid. She's getting discharged from the hospital early tomorrow morning. I don't want them to go home with him, so I'm thinking about asking her to come home to our house instead. It's ridiculous and sets us up for disaster. It wouldn't be to be with her. I don't want my newborn baby going home to another man's house. I don't think it's for the baby's sake that I want to stop it. It's for my sake. But it's not like we'd be divorced and living together forever. So we'd live together for some period of time, but eventually we'd go our separate ways, date other people and so on. I can't trust her again. That would probably be worse for our kid in the long run. At least by being in two separate homes in the first place, this will just be the norm for her and she won't have to go through that heartache of being one family splitting into two. I just don't know how I'm going to be able to handle seeing my child going home from the hospital to his house. I'm honestly scared to be present when they're discharged because I'm not sure I can control myself. I caved and I asked her to come home with me when they was discharged from the hospital. I framed it more like, if you don't want to go home with him, you don't have to. I let her know she could come home to our house if she wanted to. She said she can't. Why? Because he's done so much for her. He moved her into his house. They have a whole nursery set up. He loves her. I don't love her anymore after what she did, her words, but he loves her and accepts her even with the baby. She thinks she'll never find anyone who will love her and love our baby too, so she can't risk losing him. I tried to tell her she doesn't owe him anything. Just because he let her move in and there's a nursery there doesn't mean she's indebted to him, especially not when it comes to something this big. She said, I want to, but I just can't. I'm sorry. I left. I told her I couldn't sit there and watch the get into his car and go to his house. As a consolation, I got a, you can come over and see her tomorrow. Great. I know she did this. This is all her doing. But why am I the one feeling like I failed? This wouldn't have happened if I hadn't immediately shut her out. I basically just pushed her to him. OP on the AP posting pictures of the baby online. Today I told him he can't post pictures of her online. He said he was just posting a few pictures to say how proud and happy he was of my wife. It wasn't weird. I said he can post her all he wants, but he can't post the baby. He didn't seem to be taking it seriously, so I told him I know he wishes he'd won this one, but he didn't. She's my kid, not his. If he's genuine about being all buddy-buddy and respecting me as the actual father, he'll respect my request. He said okay, he understood. We'll see. After discovering my brother's wedding was fake and being excluded, our once close bond is shattered, leaving me heartbroken. Me, 30F, and my brother, 31M, have always been as close as twins. Our closeness is a foundation in our family. One of the true consistent relationships, obviously not in a weird way. When we fight, which is never or small fights, the whole family feels it and tries to fix it because of how unnatural it feels for everyone. He gave me away at my wedding. I named a child after him. We have matching tattoos. We talk on the phone almost every day. He started planning his wedding. He asked me to be a groomsman, while his friend, 35-ish F, would be his best man. Everyone thought this was odd because of his role at my wedding, and none of us really know/have met his friend. I expressed how it hurt my feelings and was met with, my wedding isn't about you, okay. Fine, I'll do what you ask. During the planning he called me every day. We sent ideas. I helped with making stuff. I didn't mind. I decided early on to not focus on titles but just to make this day as amazing as possible for my brother. He asked me to be a flower fairy, because this was a gay child-free wedding. I agreed. During the process of dress, shoe picking, him and the best man would shoot down all of my ideas. She would send very basic heels that were around $100. Heck no. I told her my budget was $45 for shoes, especially for plain gold heels. The wedding party all had a very mean girl mentality. I felt it from day one. There was the wedding party, and then me. I chalked this up to not really knowing them well in proximity. All of them live in a different state than me. They even went as far as saying the shoes I like were too slutty. They were the type of small heels that place up around your calf or around your ankle. After this, I begged to come as a guest, so I could wear what I want and not feel this weird mean girl mod mentality from the rest of the wedding group. My brother says, no way, I can't get married without you being by my side. I get to the state the wedding will be, and the first day I'm there I find out the best man had the bachelor party the night before I got there. Everyone from the wedding party was included aside from me. I let it go and focus on the wedding and doing my part. So, I slap on some wings, dance my way down the aisle and give my very first wedding speech. All goes well. The wedding was awesome until the drag show. Yes, they had a drag show at their wedding. During the show, one of the queens comes on and basically announces that this was all fake because my brother and his partner had gotten married 1 year prior. I turned to the rest of the wedding party and asked, did they know? They did. They were at the real wedding. Everyone but me. I'm sitting there trying to process, and my mom, who gave them $3,000 for the wedding because they needed it, storms up to ask if I knew. I told her no, and she immediately switched to being supportive to me because of how bad the situation was. It's not about them already being married. They can do what they want. I myself spent over $4,000 on this wedding. Because I was coming from out of state, I had to get a plane ticket. I paid for a week at an Airbnb. One night most of the wedding party stayed at the house I rented because they didn't have anywhere else to stay, and did not even offer to pay for any of it. The dress for the wedding, the fairy wings I handmade, all of it. I spent too much time and money on this wedding. But then I start to remember all of the lies. They got married, and 3 days after, my brother was at my house while I gave birth to my last child because I always wanted him to be a part of my huge moments. He held my newborn, knowing he had just gotten married, and said nothing. They gaslight me saying I was crazy, feeling left out. Him saying he can't get married without me. Lying to my face every single day for a year. Just all of it. After realizing all of this, I tried to leave without making any sense. His husband mockingly asked me if I was mad. I said I'd talk to them another day and they should enjoy their night. I was able to leave without anyone else at the wedding knowing I was upset. Before I could leave, the happy couple pulls me into a room. My brother is crying, saying he didn't do this to hurt me. I keep it together. Say enjoy your night and we will talk another day. His husband says, oh, so there is something to talk about then. I repeat, we can talk another day. They ask me to brunch. I say I'll see if I'm up, ready for it when they go. The next morning I realize the whole wedding party and some guests are going to lunch. I choose not to go because I am not going to put myself in a situation where I am ganged up on again over my feelings about the wedding and wedding party. After that, I left the wedding chat on Snap, which they were notified of. At this point it's the next morning and his husband starts blowing me and my friend, who was with me, up. We ignore and go about our day. I have not looked at or spoken to my brother since, aside from short responses to get me to the airport the day I left. When I left, I asked them to crop me out of the wedding photos as I didn't want to be associated with a fake wedding, and I didn't want a reminder of how embarrassing it was and how stupid I looked. I told them I didn't want to speak to them again. My brother says nothing and his husband says, you're a narcissist and I feel bad for the people who have to deal with you. Pretty sure narcissistic more aligns with tricking 100 people into coming to a wedding, some of the wedding that was paid for by other people, just to tell everyone, haha, this was just a giant party for us. Joke's on you is probably more narcissistic than me reacting to the time, money, energy spent to attend a fake wedding. But, alright, lol, I just don't know where to go from here. I have them both blocked. There is a line in our family. My brother has not tried to fix it. He has the chance to show me what I meant to him. He did. And now I have to believe him. I'm going to try to update in sections. 1. I guess to answer if he's in an abusive relationship, that really is up to each person to decide. I will not and won't label him as abusive because I'm not in that relationship with them. My mentioning of the drag queens was because they are a part of the story. Hello, it was one of the queens that made the announcement. I'm not sure why some of you are taking that as me being anything phobic. Mentioning that somebody is gay, or that drag queens attended a wedding, is a part of a story and it's factual. It's not anything phobic. Our family, as well as the new husband's family, have always been nothing but supportive and accepting. My mom has 2 kids who are very hurt. She could never hate my brother, but she definitely does not like the decisions that he has been making. She is doing her best to support her 2 children. Gay wedding. No kids allowed? 2 separate statements, lol. They definitely did not ban gay children from their wedding. LOL. I mentioned both of these things to explain why I was a flower fairy. No kids, flower girl, fairy to go along with the gay dragon theme. Hello people. I proudly slapped those wings on and danced my way down the aisle. That is definitely not anything phobic, lol. For those of you who are saying anything along those lines, you are definitely reaching and projecting. Using narcissistic when it actually does not apply to the person, in my opinion, is trying to weaponize more info in the comments top questions. For some reason, I cannot edit my post to add this, so hopefully most of you will see it. Me and my new husband, as far as I know, did not have any hard feelings going into the wedding. There was a time when they were dating that I expressed I didn't like the fact that my brother was working 2 jobs for a new husband to try to become a music producer. I watched my brother kill himself for years to try to support both of them while he sat around smoking weed in his studio, and ever since then new husband decided that I hate him, even though we have since squashed all of those issues when he got a job and started contributing. Even when we did not get along, I always made it very clear, if my brother loves you and I love you too. Both families have been very supportive. There's no homophobia or anything like that on either side. Is my brother in an abusive relationship? I don't know. I guess that's what each individual person would consider abusive. I don't want to label my brother's partner unfairly as abusive when I'm not in a relationship myself and my brother has never expressed feeling abused. I think if you consider this behavior manipulative and abusive, then that's up to your own discretion. However, I am not going to give anyone that label. I didn't decide this was a fake wedding. They did when they decided to announce in the middle of the ceremony that they were already married. They made it a fake wedding when they announced that it was fake. LOL. Hello. Russian bots, pushing propaganda. Okay people, I only mentioned the fact that there was a drag show at the wedding because that is a very uncommon thing. I found out that my brother had been married for a year and had been lying to my face via drag queen announcements. That is just stating the facts. That has absolutely nothing to do with the drag community, or how myself, or anybody else should feel about them. They were paid to do a job and they showed up and did what they were paid to do. I have no ill will towards anybody in any type of community. Those of you who are saying to me, mentioning them comes off as judgmental. For those of you who think it's weird that I did not mention that he was gay. Why is that weird? And why is that relevant to the story? LOL. The people who had their panties in a wad probably have more of an issue with the community than I do. Stop making this post about anything other than what it is about. At the end of the day, I am mourning the loss of my brother. I am mourning the relationship that I thought him and I had. And to be honest, based off of my perspective of our closeness, I am honestly questioning my own sanity. Do you generally spend hours talking to somebody, getting matching tattoos, planning a wedding, being at holidays and childbirth with somebody that you're not close with? At least on my end, I did not make up how close I was with my brother if it was not reciprocated, and he is a very good actor. And honestly, me questioning our closeness has been the most hurtful part about this entire experience. It's made me question if I'm crazy or not. Gay wedding, child-free, 2 separate statements. It was not a wedding where they did not invite gay kids. LOL. For anyone who reads it like that, you are extra weird. My brother is obviously gay and got married to a man. Therefore, it is a gay wedding. Children were not allowed to attend the wedding, therefore a child-free. 2 separate things, people. Both are okay. And I also want to say that I would never have slapped fairy wings on my back and danced down the aisle if I was not 100% supportive of them. Please stop trying to make this an issue other than 2 siblings having a falling out. Another comment. Okay, ow. I feel like you are very much twisting the story, lol. I did not make sure everyone knew I was leaving the wedding. I actually left very discreetly at almost midnight when the wedding was ending at 1 a.m. I did not make my brother cry. His husband kept trying to force a conversation that I asked respectfully multiple times to not have the night of the wedding so that way it would not ruin their day. I showed up in every single thing my brother asked of me. I took the bullying, and it kept my mouth shut for most of it after I was accused of trying to make the wedding about me. From that point on, I went out of my way to do everything I could to make his day as special as I could for him. Comment about her husband. Brother tried to contact my husband to ask how to pay back what I spent to come to the wedding. My husband said that he was not going to get involved. Brother tried to convince my husband that I was overreacting. My husband told brother that is absolutely not true and I have every right to be upset, and what he did was bonkers. My husband very much has been supportive, but also is very sad to see me and my brother fighting like this. Update 1. I'm going to do my best to put as much information as I can, but it ends up really long and Reddit will not let me post. So I'm going to try to answer all of the questions and I'm going to paraphrase a lot. The update is, there is no update. Things are the same, they are still blocked. One suggestion was that I should write him a letter, which I actually did the day after this happened, and I left it in his room. I laid out all of my feelings and described them in detail. how hurt I was. We had a 2-hour drive where he said absolutely nothing even after reading my letter. I did end up losing all of my manners when I landed, and my husband informed me that he sent him a message basically saying that I was overreacting. I said a lot of things that I was not very proud of. At the end of the day, I stand by my truth, and I stand by my perspective of what happened. Please stop trying to make this a phobia issue. Both families have been nothing but supportive. They represent themselves, not an entire group of people. Stop being so simple-minded. The mention of drag queens was only there because one of the queens announced that they had gotten married a year ago. Plus, how many times do you see a drag show at a wedding? If you read some imaginary undertone, that is definitely a you issue. Moving on. New husband, in my opinion, is not somebody that I would label as abusive. However, abuse is subjective. I think this more falls down to him being very emotionally immature. I am not a yes man, I was for the wedding. That's an appropriate time to be a yes man. Outside of that, new husband has always been intimidated by my opinion. I think he knows I can see through his BS. Weak men hate strong women. That's a fact. And that's the case here. However, we did not have any type of beef on the wedding day. Or for years before. I made it clear that if my brother loves you and wants to spend his life with you, then I support that. My mom is trying her best to be as supportive as she can to both of her kids. She could never hate my brother, although she absolutely hates what he did. As far as I go, I don't know who I am without my brother. He was just as important to me as my children and my husband. It was always me and him. To say that I am mourning is an understatement. This whole situation has made me question a 30-year relationship. Realizing his capability to live a double life that I'm not a part of has rocked to my entire world and my entire sense of reality. I'm not okay. I'm going to spend the next year being no contact. I'm going to go to therapy and get my mind, body, and soul in the best place possible, while pushing as much good karma into the world as I can. Maybe then I will be able to decide if I want to close that door fully and permanently, or if I'm at a place where I'm willing to create a new normal with him. At the end of the day, I am absolutely devastated and heartbroken. I also want to address frequently asked things. 1. Baby was no fear of being overshadowed. The date that they got married was because it was a dating anniversary for them, nothing to do with me or my pregnancy. 2. I am aware that people get married and have a large ceremony later. That's okay. It's not what they did, it's how they did it. 3. I am not a Russian bot trying to push propaganda, lol. Those comments did make me laugh though. 4. If I had the answer to why they would feel comfortable doing this to me, then I guess I wouldn't be as dumbfounded as I am. I'm not leaving out any type of detail. Honestly, it would be a lot easier if I did something so horrible to deserve this, because then I wouldn't have to wonder why. I'd know. At the end of the day, I'm not okay. I don't know if there's anything he could do to fix this. I'll always wonder if he's telling me the truth or what he's hiding. After the way that his husband spoke to me, and after him allowing him to do that, I'm honestly so disgusted with both of them. I deleted the original post because I didn't want them to be attacked. Sadly, I still have a need to try to protect him. I don't know you guys. The brother-in-law appeared and made a comments in the original post. Brother-in-law here. I'll just start by saying, for one, having a big wedding ceremony 1 year later was not my idea, but once we decided that we were going to do it, we consulted many times about telling people beforehand for fear of things like this happening. I've never had a great relationship with Op, but we've tried to make things work, mostly for my husband, her brother, because I knew they were very close and I wasn't too fond of her due to our interactions in the past. I know how important those close relationships are and would never wish to tear that apart. Op didn't want to talk about it at all. We tried to apologize and explain that the intention was never for any humiliation or insult to anyone at all. But she wouldn't have any conversation about it, especially the night of. The next day at the Airbnb, I tried to open a dialogue with Op about how she was feeling, and she only responded with snark and comments about how there's nothing to talk about. That's the small conversation where the "so there is something to talk about" statement was said by me. I eventually let it be and left the room. Everything that was said by her didn't help me or anyone understand really how she felt about it, and the little she did say seemed very self-centered and about how this was a plan to humiliate her specifically, which it most definitely was not. Reading through this now, though, I do understand a bit more why she felt that way. And for that I truly am sorry. Anyway, I'm not entirely sure how these work or if there's a proper way to post this, but ask me anything. Reply. All I'm going to say is, you both are married now and you made your choice. You both are a partnership. You both collectively decided to do this and decided it was a good idea, and the consequences are, I want nothing to do with either one of you ever again. That's it. There is no reason or purpose to keep having an open dialogue about this because it's done. And you starting out your post with "you don't like me" pretty much confirmed everything that I said. I wish you and him nothing but happiness, but this conversation is over. I've heard your side of things and it still isn't good enough to justify what you both did. And I'm choosing to walk away from both of you. Another reply he admits in the text above he knew. He literally says we didn't want to tell people because they were there and happy. He knew what he was doing. It was a huge manipulation. Lying to people to get what you want is manipulation. Omitting things from people to not give them the power to make a fair choice is also very much manipulation. They knew what they were doing. In the sentence, the other people said, "Brother doesn't value sister the same way." That's it. That's the end of the argument. They both showed me exactly what I meant to them. The motivation behind it is not really important anymore. Maybe this was just a total oversight and a mistake, but regardless, the result was the same, and the consequence remains the same. I want nothing to do with y'all. I wish you happiness because I will always love you. If you make him happy, then I am so happy for the both of you. Truly I am. Our relationship was the sacrifice for this day and you both decided to make it. I reacted to it and was trying to sort through my feelings by posting on this podcast. I did not expect for it to go viral, so for that I'm sorry. I did try to remove the post, but it was too late. I realized that you don't like me due to past interactions. And that's fine. So what I'm about to say won't matter. My heart is completely shattered. I'm literally going through a mourning process like someone died. Because that night the relationship N and I did die. He has always been my person. He isn't now, and I've never felt more alone. I honestly don't know if I'm going to be okay. Both of your responses just confirm everything I said and everything I felt. You have your side, I have mine. But ultimately everyone is feeling the loss of me and N. This changes everything in the family. I'm going to continue to root for both of you. Always. But I am going to do it from my side of the world. In an emergency, either of you can call me and I'll be there. But outside of that, I am good with both of you. You don't like me, I'm out of your life now. You don't get to defer to Neva when it comes to me but want to orchestrate our conversation after he did what he did. You are not a safe place for me. Just like I'm sure you feel like I'm not either. You win. Go be with N. Go have a happy life. Update 2. If you're reading this, you're here because you are super invested in my family's tea. LOL. But really, I'm okay. I'm going to be okay, or maybe I won't. Either way, I am going to keep moving forward, and if you want to come along with me, you can follow me on TikTok. I'm not trying to be an influencer. I'm just going to use it as a diary / coping safe space. My name on there is Tukari29. New update. I wish I could be writing that my brother had begged for my forgiveness. Those things somehow managed to go back to how they were. But they haven't. Nothing with my situation has changed. The only thing they truly changed was my perception of someone I thought I knew. I know a lot of people can't understand because you're not close with a sibling. But this has been like a true death for me. And sometimes my grief is so big I don't know what to do with it. He hasn't reached out. He hasn't explained. He hasn't even cared if I'm being fully honest. And what a mindfuck that has been. To go from someone being as important to you as your husband and children, to them showing you over and over how little you do, and ever did mean to them. He has doubled down on the "I didn't do anything wrong and you're overreacting," which is honestly just the biggest slap in the face. If someone can't admit they did something wrong, then they will never actually be sorry, and the chances of behavior repeating itself are sky high. A lot of you pointed out our relationship might have only been this important to me, and I think you all were right. For a long time I cried every day. I cried during the times we would normally talk on the phone, or when a song reminded me of him. And sometimes I've cried for no reason at all other than just feeling like there is a hole in me now. But I find myself crying less and less. And sometimes when I think of him, my first thought that follows will be, wow, it's been days since he has even crossed my mind. And I guess that's progress, right? I'm not crying every day anymore. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't still shedding tears. Tears he doesn't deserve, but they come anyway. Because that's the thing about unconditional love. It still exists even when the other person broke your heart. It doesn't go away. But sometimes the other person can just no longer have access to the unconditional anymore. We have spoken, briefly, over the phone during the holidays to deal with a family emergency involving another family member. It was pretty much all business. Everyone around us kept saying, "I'm so glad you guys are talking again." But we weren't talking again. We were just dealing with business. And I guess that's all the talking we will ever do again. At one point my husband chimed into our phone conversation and told him how much he misses him too, and he cried. I guess I forgot I wasn't the only one losing someone, but either way that doesn't change anything. My kids have not even noticed. He did try to send Christmas gifts to them through my mom, but only because I said something about him not acknowledging my son on his birthday. So is that all he'll ever be? Impersonal generic gifts that my kids get once a year? I told my mom to send them back and that they don't need a gift uncle. Honestly, they have enough of those on my husband's side. With that, I also came to the realization that if you don't have a good, respectful relationship with me, you absolutely do not get access to my children. And to be fully honest, he never really took that much interest in my kids anyway. I know he cares and loves them, but as far as a personal one-on-one relationship with them, let's just say the extent of how much he got to know them was always me telling him about them. So there really wasn't a deep pre-established relationship with any of my kids and him. And with him not being on good terms with me, or my husband, I'm not going to allow him access to my children. And I would honestly feel the same way and react to anyone this way. If someone shows you over and over again that they do not love and respect you, why would you allow them access to your kids? Especially if all they are is a gift once a year. I'm not healed, but I'm on my way. It's not better, but it's getting better. I feel I am suffering the consequences of someone else's actions. I was spiraling, but I am finding my new normal. I'll update again at the 1-year mark. Am I the A for telling my pregnant wife to stop using her condition as an excuse for not contributing to household chores and responsibilities? Original post, February 24, 2023. I am 36 years old, and my wife is 28. After trying hard for a baby, we finally got lucky, and she is now pregnant. However, it seems she is using her pregnancy to her advantage. She recently adopted a cat, despite my allergies, saying, "Think of the baby," or "The baby needs a buddy." I reluctantly agreed but kept my distance from the cat. Whenever I ask her to help with chores around the house, she always claims she can't because of the baby. I tried to communicate that I don't want the baby to be an excuse for everything, but she started yelling at me, saying I have no idea what it's like to be pregnant and that I should get over it. It hurt me, I will admit. I stayed quiet and did everything she asked. I needed a break, no doubt. I cleaned the house every day, went to work, and took care of the cat she wanted while she quit her job and stayed home doing nothing but watching TV and eating. I did her makeup as she asked, rubbed her feet and massaged her, but it never seemed to be enough. One day, I asked if I could go hang out with my friends for a bit, and she got mad and started screaming that she needed me here. What about the baby? I was so tired and fed up that I told her to stop using her pregnancy as an excuse to get away with things. I cared about the baby, but I would not stand for this. She called me an asshole, and I walked out. Am I the A? Relevant comments. OP had 183, so I narrowed down as much as possible. Important comment. Before the pregnancy, we always shared the chores equally, and our communication was great. However, after she got pregnant, things began to change gradually. At first it was understandable. She couldn't bend over to tie her shoes or reach certain things. I did everything for her without any questions. But as time went on, it got progressively worse. She couldn't do laundry, cook meals, vacuum, or even check the mail. Everything became my responsibility. I didn't have time to visit friends or do anything for myself outside of earning money, taking care of the baby and my wife, and managing the household. It felt overwhelming as she no longer contributed. She continuously used the baby or her pregnancy as an excuse. I would have understood if she had complications or if it was a high-risk pregnancy, but the doctors never indicated any such issues. It reached a point where I had to give her massages, do her makeup and nails, and buy her expensive maternity clothes because she still wanted to look good. I understood her desire to feel pretty, possibly due to insecurities, but it was draining our finances. For instance, she wanted a robe she saw on TikTok that cost $160. Meanwhile, we hadn't spent nearly as much on the baby, only having a week's worth of clothes, while she accumulated much more. She has been acting on impulses like buying a cat despite knowing I am allergic. I tried to attribute it to pregnancy hormones, but it doesn't seem to be the case anymore. More about his plans for the cat. OP shared his thoughts on the situation with the cat, explaining that he wishes he could love cats the way people without allergies can, but unfortunately, he cannot. He wants to give an animal all the love and affection it deserves, but his allergies limit his ability to do so. Additionally, He barely has time for the cat and believes it would be better for someone who can love it more to adopt it. The cat is sweet, but it is simply not a good fit for him. To a different commenter, OP mentioned that he is looking for quality shelters and does not want a no-kill shelter that is poorly managed or a breeding ground. Although he has never owned or adopted an animal, he wants them to be loved and cared for. He is open to suggestions for good animal shelters. Responding to another comment, OP explained that even though his allergies are minor, he still wants to be cautious around his own house. He does not see any problem with avoiding allergens, even if they are minor. OP loves cats and finds them adorable, but the allergy and other considerations make it difficult for him to keep one, so he needs to take precautions. Commenter: Bro, she's pregnant, not disabled. Now if she was 8 to 9 months, that would be different in terms of pampering and house chores. But makeup? Get ready for a long ride, my dude. OP responded that his wife acts like her pregnancy is high risk, even though it is not. She is 6 months pregnant, and their finances have been more focused on her than the baby. Commenter: Going to her how? At 6 months, the only extra money she needs might be for maternity clothes, good prenatal vitamins, and some money for cravings or small extras. We are currently 5 months pregnant and spending a lot, but it's all going towards the nursery as it should. OP explained that his wife saw a cute maternity robe on TikTok that cost $160. They spent money on a crib and only a week's worth of clothes for the baby, while she got much more than a week's worth of maternity clothing. Commenter: That hurts my heart. I'd love fancy things, but I would never ask my husband for something outside of our budget when preparing for a baby. You are spoiling her, which might be your way of showing care, but it's having a negative impact. She needs a reality check. OP replied that he plans to discuss budgeting with her, go to couples therapy, seek personal therapy, and give the cat to a no-kill shelter. He is open to any other suggestions since this is his first time dealing with a pregnancy, and he hasn't had time to read any books on the subject because he has been so busy providing for her and the baby. Commenter: What do you mean by you walked out? OP clarified that by walked out, he meant he left the house to hang out with a friend, but the hanging out turned into him talking about all the problems he was having with his wife. Commenter: Not the A. As others have said, unless she's medically at risk, there is no reason to stop all normal activities. Did you both discuss this beforehand? Did you agree it was fine for her to quit working and that you would handle everything? OP responded that his wife did not discuss quitting her job with him. She just announced it during dinner one day. It is hard to provide for a baby himself and her alone, so he had to take on multiple jobs. Commenter: Makeup thing? OP explained that he thought doing her makeup was the right thing to do because she told him she was exhausted and tired. He did those things for her, thinking she needed it and would appreciate it. Commenter: Is your post even real, dude? Why did she quit her job? Why would you need to do everything? I can't believe you did her makeup and all that after it too. This can't be real. OP assured that the post is real and expressed uncertainty about why she quit her job. He felt the need to do all of these things because she was pregnant. He wanted to make her happy and comfortable during this time. Having never been around pregnant people, he relied on what she said and trusted her. However, over time, it became more difficult and demanding, making it hard for him to be happy. He is now seeking personal therapy and has an appointment scheduled for the following week. Update in comments. Later that night. I recently discussed with my wife the possibility of both couples and personal therapy. She agreed that personal therapy was essential since, according to her, I have been the one experiencing all the issues in our relationship since she became pregnant. However, she was opposed to the idea of couples therapy. When I asked her why, she simply said, "Too much stress for me and the baby. Why are you making this such a big deal?" When I tried to explain that other mothers had suggested it as beneficial and healthy, she became angry and questioned, "Why are you talking to other girls? Do you not trust me?" I was baffled by how the conversation shifted so suddenly. I was insistent about the importance of couples therapy because I wanted us to raise our child together and not let our relationship fail. To this, she replied, "I'm afraid our relationship is too far from saving." I was completely devastated by how the discussion unfolded. Not knowing what else to do, I found myself sleeping on the couch because she had barricaded the bedroom door. I ended up calling a friend to stay at his place for the night, hoping that things might improve by morning. I am sorry that this situation did not turn out the way we had all hoped. Relevant comments. Commenter. When speaking to the divorce lawyer, ask about custody arrangements in the house. Sort it out before the baby is born, or it will be impossible to get anything house-wise fairly while there is a newborn there. Take charge of this situation and speak to friends and family about how you are not allowed to do XYZ and have to handle all the chores and housework. Tell them you are being abused and ask for their support. OP. I will definitely consult an adult divorce lawyer, but honestly, I feel very guilty for what I said. I felt like I was being gaslighted. She kept trying to turn the entire subject around, basically blaming me, saying it was my fault and that I did not do enough or should behave better. I do not know what it is like to be pregnant. I have never been around pregnancy, and I hate using it as an excuse. But honestly, I have no idea what I am doing or what I could do better. This is my first time experiencing this, and I thought that since she was going through it, she would be the most helpful person. However, it turned out to be the complete opposite. Commenter. In about 3 months, you are going to learn the meaning of unconditional love. It truly blindsides you, and there is no way to prepare yourself. Just know that it will happen. Her behavior will look even worse in light of that feeling because everything will be gauged by how it affects your child and their health, happiness, and overall well-being. OP. Thank you, really. Everyone has been such a help. They have opened my eyes to what is really going on. I just need to take some time to grieve and definitely talk to a therapist. It seems that my relationship has sunk. All I need to focus on now is the baby and getting my mental state back in place. Update Post 1, February 25th, 2023, next day. My wife's sister visited her and reported back to me that my wife was not behaving like her usual self. She described her as being paranoid, easily upset, and speaking incoherently. She suggested that we definitely need to talk to a doctor about this. I am very worried and fear the worst. I asked if I should come over, but she advised against it and offered to take a week off work to help care for her sister if needed. She mentioned that my wife does not seem capable of taking care of herself at the moment. I agreed that this would be the best course of action for now. I am at a loss for what to do next, as I have never experienced anything like this before. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. Update Post 2, March 18, 2023, 3 weeks later. I will keep this brief and to the point. My wife went to the doctor and was diagnosed with something called postpartum psychosis. I got this information from my sister-in-law. I have been researching this condition as I know very little about it and am looking for reliable sources and advice on how to help her. Any assistance would be appreciated, whether you have been through it, have experience with it, or just know about it. I thought postpartum issues occurred after pregnancy, but this is a completely new concept for me. Relevant comment. Commenter. You need to get in contact with a doctor before she becomes a risk to herself or the baby. Call the damn paramedics if you need to if she becomes completely resistant to speaking with medical professionals. In DMS I mentioned how she might be suffering from a prenatal form of PPD or PPA, and I know you can't get in contact with her OB, but any doctor you speak to will be able to contact them for you if you know their name. There's nothing more you can do but get her help. OP. I'll definitely see if her sister can help me get in contact. Since she is there, I'll ask her to send me contact information and I'll call them immediately. Update Post 3, March 25, 2023, 1 week later, 1 month from original post. Based on numerous comments and chat messages, I have learned that the correct term for my wife's condition is prepartum psychosis. I am very grateful for this correction, as I was not present in the doctor's office when this was initially discussed, and had been relying on the information provided by my sister-in-law. Now that I have the accurate term, I will be doing even more research on this diagnosis. Thank you all for your support, helpful resources and guidance. I also realized that my previous posts contained many typos, making my story seem a bit unbelievable. I do not blame anyone for questioning it. Honestly, I never proofread, so there are a lot of errors. I am trying to fix these typos as much as I can to make my story clearer, but some might still be present. Additionally, if you see some letters spaced together incorrectly, it is because I was trying to save space, as I am limited to a certain amount of characters. I apologize for any confusion this has caused. I appreciate everyone who has been helping me. Update post for February 28, 2024. 11 months later, 1 year from original post. It is over. Officially over. We have finalized our divorce, and I want to express my immense gratitude for all the support I have received. The divorce and custody process was extremely challenging, but we managed to get through it. I desperately wanted everything to work out for the best, but there was too much damage and conflict. The stress and fighting took a heavy toll. I am committed to doing whatever I can as a father to protect and raise my child. Thank you to everyone who has been with me throughout this journey. I am grateful to say that I am now in a happier place. Editor's note: I noticed some discussion the other day about the new update tag being confusing. It technically means that there is a new update to this specific sub that has not been posted before, not that the update itself is new. This update is 5 months old but is new to the sub. That said, I can change the tag to concluded if people would prefer. In my opinion, this story highlights several significant aspects of life that many people can relate to. The primary themes include mental health care, family responsibilities and burdens, communication and relationship struggles, divorce and parenting, as well as community support. Firstly, the story begins with the wife exhibiting unusual behaviors and later being diagnosed with prepartum psychosis. This underscores the importance of paying attention to and caring for mental health, especially during pregnancy and parenthood. Moreover, the narrator describes feeling overwhelmed by household chores and responsibilities as his wife becomes unable to contribute as she used to. This reflects the pressure many people face when taking on the majority of family duties without adequate support from their partner. Additionally, the story delves into the difficulties in communication between the couple, leading to misunderstandings and tension. This highlights the importance of effective communication and seeking external support, such as individual and couples therapy. Furthermore, the narrator faces the reality of divorce and the responsibility of raising a child alone. This addresses the challenges and emotional complexities of ending a relationship and starting a new life chapter. Finally, the story emphasizes the role of community, friends, and family in providing advice and support during tough times. Overall, this story touches on crucial life topics, from mental health and family responsibilities to relationship dynamics, divorce, parenting, and the importance of community support. We broke up just after a month of dating because my boyfriend gave me a very bad and sexist book. Now I'm happy with my same-age husband. I met my boyfriend in our master's program. We became friends over this past year and started dating and becoming serious shortly before I left the state for a summer internship. He gifted me a book to read, saying it was one he liked. It's A Spell for Chameleon, by Piers Anthony, a fantasy novel written several decades ago. I knew nothing about it prior, and began laughing at it 2 pages in because of how ridiculous the writing was, especially about women. We Skyped after I got through the first chapter, and I tried respectfully explaining my doubts about the book. He made a deal with me. Knowing I'm a big Harry Potter fan, he promised to give the HP series a chance, starting with Philosopher's Stone, if I gave his book a chance and kept reading. This rocked my world, and I had a sudden burst of motivation. I'm on chapter 3, and I cannot stand this book. It is one of the most sexist and misogynistic texts I have ever had to read, and it honestly makes me feel like crap. Not to mention it's just poorly written all around, painfully spoon-feeding obvious symbolism, and excessively throwing in fantasy creatures concepts that do nothing for the plot. The protagonist is a complete dillhole that I couldn't care less about, and as a reader, I don't want to follow him or anything in the fantasy world of Xanth. But of course, flat out telling my boyfriend those thoughts about a book he enjoys would be hurtful, and he has every right to have different preferences. I am shocked that he would recommend such a book to me though. He is a respectful and educated man, treating me very well and identifying as a proud feminist. This recommendation was out of left field. Does he not remember how hurtful the author's writing on women is? Did he read it at a young age and has since grown? I can't expect him to hold his end of the bargain and read Harry Potter, which is fine, especially if it means not having to put myself through Piers Anthony's excuse for writing ever again. I like my boyfriend a lot. How do I respectfully tell him why I cannot invest in this book anymore? It's important to me that he realizes the negative messages being suggested, but I want to do this without insulting his taste or making him feel at fault. TL Doctor, boyfriend gave me a book to read and I accepted. I think it's sexist and poorly written. How do I tell him that I cannot keep reading? Should I explain my concerns? Relevant comments. OP explains why the book is horrible. Example 1. I like beautiful girls, he said. And I like smart girls, but I don't trust the combination. I'd settle for an ordinary girl, except she'd get dull after a while. Sometimes I want to talk with someone intelligent, and sometimes I want to... He broke off. Her mind was like that of a child. It wasn't really right to impose such concepts on her. Example 2. That's the point, he said. I like variety. I would have trouble living with a stupid girl all the time, but you aren't stupid all the time. Ugliness is no good for all the time, but you aren't ugly all the time either. You are variety. And that is what I crave for the long-term relationship, and what no other girl can provide. Example 3. All women are the same inside. They differ only in appearance and talent. They all use men. Example 4. That whole rape trial in Chapter 3. Example 5. Other girls manage to enhance their appearance by cosmetics or padding or specialized spells, but besides Sabrina, all other females look somewhat artificial. She was no enemy. This was the PG-2 example I mentioned. Example 6. There was much more of her he longed to see and to touch, but that could come only after marriage. She was that sort of girl, and it was part of her appeal. The girls who had it didn't need to put it on casual display. PG-3. Mikatoba. Oh good lord. I looked up the book and thought, this couldn't be that bad, could it? I guess it is that bad. Top comment. The first thing to ask is when he last read this book. If, like you said, he hasn't read it since adolescence, he may not remember how truly awful it is. If he's read it recently and still recommended it, well, I'd be totally honest about how I felt about it. But that's just me. You can certainly just tell him you gave it a fair shake, but it wasn't your cup of tea. Update. The post was locked shortly after I put it up, so I wasn't able to comment back to most of you. I went through every comment and took them all into consideration. Thank you all for your thoughts. We Skyped the other night and the topic came up. I started by saying I liked him a lot and really do appreciate how much he's willing to share with me. He caught on to where I was going with this and started laughing. Then I started laughing. And I realized how silly small of a thing this all was. I guess I didn't want to risk hurting his feelings. When the reason why I didn't like the book came up, I explained, and he totally understood. It's been at least a decade since he's read the book, and he can see where I would feel uncomfortable. He will still consider reading the first HP book, since I gave his book a chance. And being a single dad, his kids also like the series, so it would be a chance for him to connect more with them. I ended by saying that I hope this doesn't discourage him from sharing more things he likes. If anything, it encourages me to find more that you'll appreciate. Q Heart Flutters. TL.ER, good talk, he's awesome. New update, hi. I would reply to this under the username You Lazy Chickbone, but it got locked a little over a year ago. Reddit banned me for sharing a mayor's office contact information law, and I created this one shortly after. It's hilarious this post is being shared because it's from such a different time in my life. Your instincts are right. This relationship only lasted a month after this post. I took an opportunity to live and study abroad for a few months, and it was clear that he didn't want anything that deep, dodged any conversation that required vulnerability, didn't like that I wasn't always 100% perky, etc. I also had a rough breakup before this and wasn't making the best judgment calls when it came to dating. I could have caught a few more things about him that give similar concerns now as this book recommendation then. So I called it off. Oh my god, then he suddenly wanted to make it work, and kept it up for over a year after the breakup. We weren't even together that long. He would text me as if we never ended, and I would shut it down. He eventually stopped, but I still get occasional notifications on LinkedIn that he viewed my profile. I'm now happily married to someone my age, not knocking appropriate relationships with age gaps. I'm good friends with a couple who are 12 years apart, but I dodged a bullet, folks. Thanks for giving me a good laugh with this flashback. My ex reached out to me after a year of my husband's accident. Am I the A for lashing out at him and saying he's not my baby's father? June 25th, 2024. I am 34 years old and have been with my husband for over 12 years. We had our child when I was 31 and my husband was 33. Tragically, about a year and a half ago, when our baby was around 2 years old, my husband, the love of my life, died in a terrible accident. A careless driver hit his car on a foggy, slippery road, and he died instantly in the crash. His death left me devastated. The only thing that kept me somewhat sane was our daughter. I couldn't believe I had lost him. He was my rock, my light, and I loved him dearly. In many ways, I still can't believe he's gone. I'll let my ex explain. My spouse contacted me a year or so after his injury, maybe just to vent. We split up a long time ago, even before I met my husband. Although we weren't precisely buddies, we maintained a good relationship and occasionally chatted, asking each other how they were doing. So, as a buddy, he reached out and offered to assist. Although it came as a surprise, I agreed to it since, to be honest, I didn't have many close friends save him and I desperately needed a friend. Every now and then he would stop by our house with gifts for my daughter, and we would talk over a drink or some tea. It wasn't close. I told him that I wasn't ready for any new connections after losing my spouse, and over the years, he had a number of casual encounters. I suppose I'm not quite ready yet. He was quite kind to my kid, so I didn't see anything wrong with them bonding. He came over once or twice a month. However, my child then began phoning my former father. It really irritated me, but since she's still a toddler, how was I meant to tell her to stop? I doubt she comprehended when I tried to gently explain to her that my ex isn't my father. So when my ex came over, I just started sending her to my mom or my husband's parents. To be honest, I'm sure our child won't remember her father. All she will have of him are pictures. And I don't want her to see another man as her replacement. Thus, everything returned to normal. When I informed my ex that my daughter wasn't home, I could see that he was angry. I didn't give it much thought though. And that's when I lost it the last time. I may have been the asshole in that situation because I yelled at my ex in the end when I should have handled it better. My mother sent my daughter home early from his visit since she was acting quite unhappy and wanted to go home after we played some video games and had a few beers. He got up and said, "This is my baby, I've missed you," to my daughter, and extended a hug toward her. That's where I snapped at him. I told him angrily that he is in fact not her father, and that she is my and my husband's baby and will never be his baby no matter how much he wants it. And if he wants to have a child, he still has plenty of chances with his girlfriend. He told me I was a real for saying such cruel things and left. My mother told me that I was kind of an asshole too and I acted like a child. So am I. Relevant comments. Commenter, no assholes here. I think you took some unresolved trauma out on him, and also that him calling your kid his baby was pretty clueless since he presumably will not be her father. He's more of an uncle, if we want to use family terms at all. I think you should apologize even though he was also wrong, assuming you want to be friends and have him in your kid's life. Hopefully he will understand that it is a sore subject for you right now and parts of it will obviously be a sore subject forever. OP, thank you. I think you're right. I still take everything concerning my husband to heart and my ex's words hit very close to home. I don't think I was wrong in what I said to him, but I was wrong in the way I said it. After thinking about it for some time, I think I do want him in my and my daughter's life. He is a very good friend and very supportive, especially in my time of need, so I shouldn't have lashed out at him. I think I'll try calling him to apologize and communicate my issues clearly. Maybe he didn't even mean anything by his words and just loves my baby and expressed it a bit clumsily. But I admit his words really triggered me at that moment. Commenter, nah. You are still heavily grieving the loss of your husband. You should, in my opinion, apologize to him and explain your thoughts. He can accept the apology or not. If you're not currently in therapy, you should really consider it. I have a friend whose son's dad passed away when he was 3. Same thing. Only pictures and basically no memories. OP, thank you for your advice. I believe you're right. I should apologize and clearly explain my feelings to him. I didn't express my concerns earlier, and then I exploded unnecessarily. I need to set some clear boundaries with him and explain that I'm still hurting and don't want him to call my daughter his baby in any way. If he's okay with it, that'll be great. If not, then I won't have a choice but to stop speaking to him for my own sake. I'm in therapy right now, and while it's a lengthy process, it's good. And my deepest condolences for your friend's son. Commenter, since you have a baby, you will need to enact clear boundaries with him. It's possible that given you two's romantic history, he doesn't realize he's crossing lines. But once you let these boundaries be known, it's up to him to follow them and you to enforce them. Don't let him bully you. You're the mom and dad to your baby. OP, you are right. My first priority is my baby's well-being. Although some of my relatives say a child needs a father figure, I think that's nonsense. If I meet a nice man who is at least as great as my husband, then maybe. But it should be on my terms and not forced onto me and my baby. Commenter, if he only came back into your life because of the baby, I think there is something going on here. There are tons of bad people out there who insinuate themselves into single moms' lives to get access to the kids. Protect your daughter. You don't need your ex. You dumped him for a reason already. OP, I'm not really sure if he has some ulterior motive about my baby. Maybe he's too projecting some unresolved issues. Maybe not. He's generally a good person and a good friend. But you're right, he was a terrible boyfriend. We were very young and our relationship was clearly toxic. However, we later talked and decided that we are much better as friends than as lovers. However, after writing this and giving it some thought, I realized that I should first apologize for yelling, and then, second, create some firm boundaries between him and my child. He has the right to reject that, but in that case, we will not communicate. Commenter. Not the A, and this seems to be some ploy on his part to get back with you and has extended to creating a relationship with your daughter. OP. I don't think he wants to get back with me, though I'm not completely sure. We broke up for a reason. We were young and foolish, and our relationship was entirely toxic. He's a good friend though. Sometime after the breakup, which was surprisingly calm, we talked and decided to stay in touch. We weren't close friends, but we were friendly. He was very supportive after my husband's death and helped me a lot. I won't deny there's a bit of nostalgia about the times we were together, but it's more of a running joke now. We can say, "Do you remember when we were together? So and so happened," and we laugh. I definitely do not want him as a partner. He was a terrible boyfriend, and judging by his behavior with his numerous girlfriends, that hasn't changed. He initially didn't express any interest in having children, but maybe he's projecting some of his own issues onto my daughter. Commenter. This whole situation is bizarre to me. I don't understand why you'd allow your ex this much access to your kid. I understand needing the support, but the situation is suspicious as fuck to me. In general, not the A. OP, thank you for your input. You're right, I believe I was wrong for introducing them at all. I was a wreck and needed support, yes, but my priority should be my child. First year after my husband died, a lot of people came over to offer condolences and some help, my and my husband's family. My daughter was always by my side. She once called my husband's brother Papa, but they look so much alike that it is understandable. And I kinda miss the fact that my ex's visits and gifts can be a problem. I was too late to understand that I need to set clear boundaries, and it is inappropriate for them to bond if I do not want any relationship besides friendship with my ex. On the term Papa, thank you for your input. I didn't mention it in my post, but we are European and the term Papa is actually more common here. Maybe it wasn't even his intention and he did it subconsciously. I was in the wrong to scream and yell, but we definitely need to set some clear boundaries if this friendship is gonna last. OP is voted not the A by top comment, but comments are heavily mixed with no assholes here. Update, same post, June 27th, 2024, 2 days later. First, I wanted to say thank you to everyone who offered condolences, advice, and criticisms. I appreciate it very much. I believe some context and explanation are necessary. My husband and I had a very close friend group, and we usually hung out at our place because we have a sort of playroom with a PS5, a good PC, VR, board games, and a D&D table. We are big fans of gaming in many forms. Sadly, our friends moved to different countries over the years one by one, and after my husband died I was left with only one friend from the group nearby. But she's a young mother too and we can't hang out like before. We still speak, but it's not been the same. So I wanted some familiarity when my ex appeared. I was vulnerable and allowed things to escalate too much. I desperately wanted to have a friend who shares similar interests with me and my husband. So I was blind to some red flags and my own wrong choices. Also, I never left my ex alone with my daughter for more than a couple of minutes. I was wrong to introduce them in the first place. Now to the update itself. Yesterday evening my ex came by unannounced and uninvited. I was a little worried, but thankfully my husband's brother and his wife were at our house with their kids on a playdate. So I asked them to watch over the kids for some time and went to talk with my ex outside. He was drunk. A lot. He started talking and he said a lot. In a nutshell, he said that he will always care about me, that he suppressed some feelings for all these 15 years and he just realized that he was a fool to let me go. I admit I do care about him too, but not even remotely in a way I care about my husband. So I was a fool to hope we can be friends and have a civil relationship without any implications. Our conversation became heated and we argued, with many accusations being thrown around. My brother-in-law came out of the house, bringing our large, overprotective dog with him. So I quickly apologized to my ex for leading him on and told him to move on and asked him to leave and never return. I was a bit worried that things could get violent, but he left without any protest. He later posted long and vague posts about being hurt and that love is shit and he's better off alone, and tagged me and several of his other exes. Not sure how his girlfriend may react to that, but it doesn't really matter anymore. I blocked him everywhere and hoped he wouldn't appear in our lives anymore. Also, I will update my security system as soon as possible just in case. Spot on comments. Commenter. I watched a TikTok this morning by a woman who took something for relief after several days of constipation. Then she went commando in a sundress to Walmart, where she trusted what felt like gas only to shit on the floor. And somehow that dude vague booking his feelings and tagging his exes is still the most embarrassing experience relayed to me today. Replier. I don't believe that lady. I suspect she went to that Walmart commando just to shit on the floor to try to get away with it. I had a friend that worked at both Walmart and Target. The amount of people that decide to take a dump in areas like the fitting room will blow your mind. Like to the point where if you were in a fitting room, there's a good chance that a minimum of 5 different people have taken a shit in that fitting room at 5 different times. Commenter. I had forgotten about this until I read your comment, but when I was a kid, my great aunt was telling us about going to Walmart once and discovering that someone had taken a shit in one of the purses there. My mom also almost stepped on a human turd on the floor once at a different Walmart in the entry area. What is up with people pooping everywhere at Walmart? I hate that place. Commenter. My ex-coworker told me a story about a woman who was bouncing in a shoe aisle one time. My coworker was called to the front of the store and forgot about her. Coworker was later going around the department to straighten up and went into the fitting room where she found a lone child's rain boot. She went to pick it up and discovered pee in it. She went up front and they checked the cameras. That bitch, instead of going up front to the restrooms, waited till she was gone, grabbed the boot off of the shelf, jumped into the nearby fitting room and did her business. People are nasty. Commenter. I used to work in a retail shop, and when I moved to a new city, I started working at the local branch there. At the first branch, such incidents were never a problem. In 2 years, the only issue we had was a toddler having a spectacular accident. Without going into too much detail, the child was wearing shorts and tried to run away afterward, spreading the mess everywhere. The mother apologized profusely, helped clean up, and even called customer service to thank us for our kindness. However, at the second store, people would have inappropriate bathroom incidents at least once a week. I could never figure out why there was such a difference. Both stores were part of the same chain, located in very similar cities and neighborhoods in terms of socioeconomic status, with comparable public toilet availability nearby. The customer bases seemed superficially similar. It made no sense to me. I discovered my SO of 3 years was texting back and forth with another person every day and was sending nude photos to each other. A little bit of backstory. SO and I have been together for 4 years, and about 2 years ago when the Rona hit, I moved in with him as we both lost our respective jobs and needed to save a bit from gas and utilities. Since then I have found a new office job and so takes some odd jobs online, but he basically stays at home most of the time. So has always been on the controlling side. He wanted me to cut all my male friends from my life. Hindsight is 20/20, I know, but in his defense, he also cut all contacts with women, or at least to my knowledge. So has always been very adamant that he doesn't condone cheating, and even if someone else in his life was a cheater, he would cut them out of his life. The relationship has had its ups and downs. We have had a fair share of arguments, and a few months ago we hit a rough patch, but recently things were looking okay for a while. Or so I thought. So has become quite guarded with his phone lately, including hiding it if I look over his shoulder. He has never done this before, and it's very not like him. I am very open with my personal tech items. He's always welcome to look through my phone and laptop because I have nothing to hide. We even know each other's phone passwords. My gut feeling kept telling me that something was wrong, so when I got up for work this morning while he was still sleeping, I admit, I shouldn't have done what I did. I took his phone from the nightstand and checked out his conversations. So has been chatting with a girl he met online, 25. I only skimmed through the last few messages as I didn't want him to wake up and catch me snooping, but they have been texting back and forth every day while I was at work and sending each other nudes. I was so shaken and disgusted. I don't know when it all started, but I assume it's been at least a month because that's when I first noticed the suspicious phone guarding behavior. Honestly, no matter how much I look for a solution, there's no coming back from this. I know I have to leave. I haven't confronted him yet because I don't want him to try and persuade me to stay or spin it that it's my fault. I also don't believe in closure, so there's really no use in telling him that I know. Here's where I need advice. I have a place to move to and I have to move all my stuff. I don't want to have him damage my stuff to spite me or something. He has a history of throwing my possessions when angry, so I'll have people come help me move when he's not in the house. We have separate finances, so that's not an issue. The problem is, we have a dog. I adopted him with his approval when I moved in with him. I'm saying it's technically my dog since I do 90% of the dog activities. He rarely takes him out and I buy all the dog toys and dog food. Basically, he's the fun parent that gets only the pets and hugs. I know he loves the dog and the dog loves him, but I don't think he'd be able to take care of him and get up at 6 a.m. to walk him. My baby is also too used to the house and us, and he'll probably be stressed out if I move him. Should I take the dog with me without telling my soon-to-be ex, or should I leave the dog with him? Another thing I need advice for is, should I leave him a note or a message with any explanation? Update 1. First, I'd like to thank everyone who commented on my previous post. It really helped put things in perspective for me. A few people asked for an update. It will be a lengthy one, so brace yourselves. One particular comment stuck out to me, that my pet doesn't know what's best for them and they could roll in literal shit and be happy, which really solidified my decision. As a preface, I'd like to apologize. I was paranoid that I could be found out, so I altered a couple of details in the original, one of which was that we owned a cat, not a dog. However, I was still doing 90% of the caring for the cat. On to the update. After reading all the comments and making the decision to take the cat, I called my best friend, her boyfriend, and my parents to tell them I'm breaking up and discuss logistics. I also told them to not mention anything in writing on the off chances that SO sees the messages. It took me quite some time to put everything in motion, 3 weeks to be precise, in which time I was doing my best to act like everything was okay while secretly moving some of my stuff to my parents' place to ease the final load. Finally, last Friday morning, my best friend, her boyfriend, and my dad came. We loaded up everything on my father's truck and left. The whole ordeal took 1.5 HRS. I was honestly amazed how much stuff I managed to accumulate for just 2 years. I took everything that I paid for out of my pocket, including a monitor and a headset that I lent him due to his equipment breaking and he never bought new ones. The only thing I left was a queen-size bed I bought shortly after moving in. I also made sure to log into X's World of Warcraft account to cancel his subscription, which was paid from my bank account. I left a note on his desk that basically said, "Do not panic, you have not been robbed." I just took all my stuff and left. I'm taking the cat with me because I don't trust you to take care of her properly. Do not call me, my friends, or my family. We have already had the talk, so there's nothing else to say. Have a nice life, your ex. I didn't tell him I knew about the cheating because at this point it was irrelevant. In retrospect, it was just the last straw on top of many other problems. But hindsight is always 20/20th. I blocked his number and never looked back. Sure enough, he messaged me on WhatsApp as soon as he came back to the empty flat. The gist of the messages was that we could have done it the Civil War, LMAO, and why did I take the cat this way? We raised her together and he loved her. He also tried to call 3 times but gave up soon after. I then blocked him on WhatsApp as well. The next few days were pretty uneventful. Yesterday, he showed up at my workplace unannounced. I was pretty annoyed but didn't want to make a scene in front of the colleges, so I took a break and went out with him to the park across the street. Knowing him, he wouldn't just fuck off and leave me alone. He said he wanted closure and that I owed it to him after all these years. The conversation was mostly boring, so I'll highlight the important details. He said he wanted my monitor back and that he's willing to pay for it or trade me his new one, which is better, but wasn't with the same curvature that he was used to. I told him that I like my monitor and tough luck. The best part is he went out, bought a new monitor, set it up to play WoW, but realized that I also took the headset. He then asked his mother to buy him one and she bought headphones without a mic. Pity. He asked to have the cat back. He offered me money, offered me all his crypto savings, and even offered me 60k gold in WoW LMAO. I told him some things can't be bought with money. He then asked to co-parent, and when I said no to that too, he asked to at least say goodbye to her in person, also denied. I brought up that I'm the cat's primary caregiver and he can't even clean her shit. He replied he could, when push comes to shove, but didn't since I was doing those things anyway, despite him being in the flat almost 24/7. I also pointed out that if he really loved the cat that much, he'd want the best for her and to be with the one who takes care of her, instead of wanting to keep her for selfish reasons. He kind of agreed on that. The most baffling part, he offered to pay me to go grocery shopping together. We used to do that all the time when we were together. I pointed him to a couple of sites where he can buy groceries and have them delivered. He said it was too much work. I told him to adjust and evolve. He also apologized one too many times for hurting me, to which I replied every time I wasn't hurt. I was just disgusted and cringed at the conversations I read, to which he got offended and mumbled that it was private, you know. Not once did he mention the side chick. Even then he didn't have the balls to admit to the affair. In their messages there was a recurring joke that if he comes to the hotel where she works, they'd have to fuck in the janitor's room. I brought her up a couple of times, told him I wish them both the very best, and since I left him the bed, he doesn't have to worry about fucking in the janitor's room anymore. He asked to be friends multiple times. I told him, also multiple times, he betrayed me and he's a pathological liar and I don't want to be friends with a dishonest person. He legit couldn't comprehend how his dishonesty impacts a potential friendship. He said he wanted to tell me he wasn't committed to me anymore but couldn't bring himself to do that. I pointed out the hypocrisy of him blowing up at me for platonically talking to male friends online, but he cheats the moment a semi-attractive woman comes his way. He said that a woman cheating on a man is the greatest sin, but a man cheating on a woman is not so severe. What the actual fuck? The rest of the conversation was him trying to play buddy-buddy and talk to me about his life and me reminding him that I'm not interested in his life and that he's a closed chapter to me. After what seemed to be eternity, we said our, hopefully, final goodbyes and I went back to work. In conclusion, for the past week since I left, I've felt like a huge load have dropped off my shoulders. I have all the time in the world. I'm working on myself. I'm reconnecting with people I haven't talked to in years. I'm trying to live my best life and I don't regret anything. There were good times. There were bad times. It was a valuable experience and a lesson learned what to look for in a partner and, more importantly, what not to overlook. Huge thanks to everyone that commented on my post. You really gave me the push I needed to make what I hope is the right decision. Update 2. I was contemplating whether to write this last update or not. A bunch of things have happened since I last posted and eventually, I figured we are all more or less people who laugh at their own farts and enjoy the occasional justice boner, so I decided y'all might appreciate how karma has caught up with X. Disclaimer and some background. I left out a lot of information in the original post and altered a lot of details to make sure X does not find the post and connect the dots. Our real ages are 28, him, 33, me, and 34, side chick. X and I were together for almost 7 years. Note 4. X had a chronic disease, nothing fatal if treated, very manageable, and a lot of people with the condition can work. He was of course using it as an excuse not to work, even online work, and mooch off me. We lived with his mother who was supporting his narrative that he is too sick to work. X was abusive, first only verbally but it progressed to physical abuse. I omitted most of this information in the first post because I wanted an unbiased opinion whether to take the cat or not. Even though the cheating was the last nail in the coffin of our relationship, I was actually contemplating leaving him for almost a year before the actual fact and on occasions where he ramped up the abuse. I will withhold giving examples for the time being because the topic might be traumatic for some readers. My last update ended with my ex coming to work to offer me pixel money for my cat. This was in August 2022. I vacated his flat at the end of July. I thought everything was said and done and I would not hear from him again. Spoiler, I was wrong. Since the breakup he has messaged me about every 3 months on Discord for various bullshit, like how he lost his best friend or asking for photos of the cat. I didn't block him there in case either of us needed to exchange items we forgot at our respective places. Sometime in March I found out by chance that he's still using my old League account. He has been banned on 3 different accounts for toxicity. I gave him the password while we were dating, but I did not think he would have the audacity to continue using it after we broke up. The kicker is, all it would take would be to ask me to use it and I would have no problems with it. It really rubbed me the wrong way that he could message me with his woe is me crap on 4 different occasions but conveniently forgot to mention that he is still playing on my account. I wondered for about a week whether to let it slide or to just change the password, then he contacted me again about wanting to ask me something. I shot this down and reminded him that I explicitly told him not to contact me. He said okay. This lasted for a fortnight until he messaged me again, saying that he will ask his question regardless. I pointed out how I told him not to contact me and he could not respect even that. So he has learned nothing as he still does not give a fuck about other people's boundaries. The question was, what did it feel like to be with a complete monster for 7 years? Why did you stay for so long? Apparently the lad was going through some kind of epiphany phase. There were a lot of crocodile tear-laced explanations that followed. The gist of it was that he was doing some reflections. He realized he is a complete lunatic and needs help and apologized for how he behaved. I also found out that he spent all his savings and disability money, including the crypto he offered me for the cat. So he could not take me up on the offer to buy my LOL account. Sag. Also, to nobody's surprise, his little affair did not work out. I did not ask for details, but what he said was, I think I finally met a person who is more sick and broken inside than me, which is quite an achievement. A few months prior to this revelation, a WoW friend from the side chick's country messaged me. For context, we are all Europeans and play on the same servers. Friend knew my side of the story, and when he found out that side chick is flying to my and ex's country, he put 2 and 2 together. He told me he does not expect much from their relationship since a year ago the chick was dating a mate of his, broke his heart and flew somewhere else for the next wow guy that gave her attention. Knowing these facts, and after what my ex said, I mentioned to him how it was ironic that he cried cheating if I was 5 minutes late after work, but decided to involve himself with a woman who was practicing cheating as a sport. He agreed that it was quite ironic indeed and that he had to lay in the bed that he made, which was sort of mature on his part, I suppose. Also, did I mention he was too dumb to wire his own debit card to his WoW account? This is why he could not play anymore. Well, yeah, but I guess also because he lost his sugar mommy that was paying for it and failed to secure another. As for me, Kitty and I are thriving. I am active. I lost 12 kilograms since the breakup and I am getting back in shape, even though I lost the excess weight the moment I dumped the ex. I have reconnected with most of my friends and apologized for not contacting them very much in the past 7 years and explained why. They were very understanding and things have gone very much to how they were before. I have also met the most decent, kind and compassionate man out there. So, life is looking good. Thank you for all the support, Reddit. Thank you for reading and have a great day.